like I'm fresh out the water. Put that on my daughter, I'm dripping Mystique. Pin to the pad of my author and marathon jogger, been running for weeks. Yeah, I tell no lies, my eyes on the prize. You lose by choosing to blink. I found a treasure by taking on pressure and pushing myself to the brink. Looked in the mirror to tell me that I'ma be wealthy, I said I concur.
What's up? I'm Bobby J from City Chapters. I'm your host. Today, chapter 3 with my man Joseph Northcutt. He's the owner of the Bricks Conditioning Lab. They offer one-on-one training, small group sessions, and sports performance training. This man has accreditations and certifications of Master of Science in Exercise Science from California University and Pennsylvania. Did I say that right?
California University of Pennsylvania.
Oh, it is that?
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that threw me for a loop there for a second. Yeah. And then he's got a Bachelor of Science in Health Science from Arizona State University. Mm-hmm. He has a USAW strength and he is a USAW strength and conditioning coach, and he's earning a doctorate of exercise science and research currently. We're going to read a testimonial from one of his clients at the gym, Meredith. Joe is truly passionate about his craft and dedicated 100% to the success of his clients. I started one-on-one training with Joseph following the birth of my third child and have seen a complete transformation of myself, both physically and mentally. I went in with a goal in mind, and with the help of Joseph and his incredible training program, I've been able to meet and surpass many goals at the Bricks. I look forward to even more progress and couldn't think of a better trainer to help push me through. Once again, that was Meredith. So there's the intro for my dog, Joe.
She gonna eat that up, man.
Yeah, cool, man.
Yeah, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. I'm just super happy to have you. I got the chills already with that intro, man. So yeah, cool, man. Let's get into your backstory, bro. I know you're from the east side of LA. Kind of just give us your whole experience growing up in the east side of LA and how that kind of formed you as a person.
Basically, yeah, I'm from Los Angeles, from the LA. I'm from the east side, which if you are familiar with LA, the east side, where I'm from, we call it the bottoms, because that's probably as low as you're going to get out there. Mm. And of course, like anything you've heard, it's the rough area. There's nothing to see on the east side. So if you go to Los Angeles, there should never be a reason for you to ever visit the east side. There's no malls. That's just where all the poverty, the projects, that's where all that's at. So that's where I grew up in. So everything that I saw or that I wanted to be or do is from the outside, looking outside from the inside. So growing up there, typically when you see people doing, making the money, the jewelry, the girls and all that, you typically as a boy, you follow 3 options, and it's not because you want to do it. You just want the result of it. Mm-hmm. And that's entertainer, so rapper, singer, if you can do it, or an athlete, of course, is everybody's first love where I'm from. Or you following what the people who you look up to do, which is,
your immediate gangs, environment,
the selling drugs, etc. So luckily for me, growing up, I had people older than me, my older brother, cousins, and just people around the neighborhood that saw that I was different as far as I just love basketball and always loved school. So whenever it came to doing any of the things that they saw would be detrimental to that, they kept me away from it. Mm. So of course, I can still fight. I can do all that. But if they caught me hanging in the streets or doing certain stuff, they stopped me. Mm-hmm. Because what people don't understand is when you're from these areas, and they don't want to hold nobody in there because it's family. So if they see somebody that can make it out, they're going to try to help them make it out. Their means of trying may not be as, I guess you could say educated as somebody who comes from a business background, but all they know is they don't want them to do the same things that they did. So luckily for me, I had that growing up. So that's what helped me. I could have still pushed it, but that's what helped me not fall victim to everything that everybody else was doing.
That's really great, man, because me and TS actually talked about this last week. He grew up in some rough parts of like Tacoma and that area. And we were talking about like, oh, geez, and like, did he feel pulled in, or did he feel like people from his neighborhood were like, yo, bro, you got something, don't come over this way? And like, you just went into that already off top, which is something I was probably going to ask, because a lot of people think people from those neighborhoods, like everybody's trying to like keep you in the gang or keep you in this culture, like, and a lot of times it's not that way. They do see individuals that have a certain talent that's like, yo, you don't need to be doing this. Yeah. So that's awesome that you like you had that, bro.
Yeah. There's a big misconception of what politics are in the hood, I guess you could say. But
I want to let people know, like, it's not that way all the time.
It's different. Like people ask me, how was you raised there? How did you not get this or get that? And I'm like, it's not what you think. It's a lot what you think, and in some cases, it's a lot worse than what you think, because there's a lot people don't know. But it's when you're from this neighborhood, and LA is different than a lot of other cities and countries, because you might live in this block on this street. For example, I'll give you an example. Through high school, I lived on 27th and Central, the Bottoms, and that's a blood neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So you would think in 27th, and you got 20 Adams, and then 26th, 25th, they're mixed in there. But you would think that, okay, so this whole neighborhood, this whole area, you're protected in, but that's not how it is in LA. So on 27th, you might have the Bloods, but then on 28th, you got a Hispanic gang that don't get along with you. And that's a block over. So you got, and I'm not saying none of these gangs don't get along and none of that. I'm not, none of that. But I'll just give you an example of the gangs around me that wasn't part of my neighborhood. Yeah. And I'm from the East Side, so it's nothing but blacks and Mexicans. The only white people we see are cops. Mm. So you got to think, I'm on 27th, and the next block over, you got East Side Essays. Mm-hmm. And then behind us, you got Loco Park. And then you got, not Loco Park, I'm sorry. You got Flats, and then you got Ghetto Boys, and then you got 38th Street, and these are all surrounding you. So depending on whatever the politics are, you could be just waiting on the bus stop, and somebody will see you. Right. So growing up, the way we drive to red lights was different. You don't stop, you slow down. Mm-hmm. If you're waiting at a bus stop, you don't wait at the bus stop. You might sit inside of the Church's Chicken on the corner, and then when the bus comes, you go out. But it taught you a lot about your environment, how to survive in like a territory where it's always stress, and just how to focus on whatever it is you got going, how to generate like a tunnel vision and not let everything around you interrupt that. So that's what it's like growing up on the East Side. It's you always have to have your head on a swivel, but growing up, I didn't know no different. So I didn't know that there was anything outside of that. So I just thought, everybody's going through this. So
So you were in that area all the way through high school, right? Yeah.
So I was born in LA, and then, when I was young, like 4 or 5 or something like that, my mom and dad kind of separated. So we moved. We didn't get Section 8 yet, but we moved to the IE. And back in the day, because I know some of my friends, the IE was considered like corny because it was all suburbs. But what happened was a lot of people from LA started moving out there because property was cheap. Because you an hour away from the city. So I moved to the IE because my mom felt that if she got us away from LA, that it would, we'll change, we'll adapt. And that could have been so for me and my younger brother. But my older brother was deep at this time. So he went out there, he made friends, and he still had fun out there, I guess you could say. And then, but the problem is when we got out there, that's when I first really started understanding that I was like poor. Because growing up where I'm from, everybody's the same. So you just think this is how it is. But because when we got Section 8, we moved to areas that was more blended, more mixed between races and stuff. So I would see so many people with stuff I didn't have. And then, as a kid, you just ask for it. And then you just, my mom, she did the best she could, but she just couldn't afford a lot of stuff. She had 7 kids. So I moved to Moreno Valley for a few years. And I did start to change, as in, like, of course, if you take a kid from a hood and put him in the valley young.
How old were you again at this point?
I want to say like 5, maybe 4.
Oh, you were really young.
Yeah, I was really young. Yeah, because I went to kindergarten in these areas, in IE. Gotcha. So I lived in Riverside, Paris, and then Moreno Valley.
Gotcha.
So while I was there, I met friends there because you had other people that was from LA. So you meet friends there. And then when I was in 6th grade, we had to move back to LA. But at this point, I hadn't seen my dad in a few years because just whatever, different stuff happened. So my mom popped up on him and was like, we had to move out of the house. I need you to take care of your kids and stuff. So that's when I was able to move back to the east side, which at the time I didn't want to do because I'm out here, I'm like skateboarding, doing I'm doing everything at the time that the IE was about.
What is IE?
Inland Empire. So it's an area of California. If let's say I was from the IE and I met you in Washington, I would say I'm from LA. Okay. Just because I'm not going to sit here and explain, but it's an hour.
I've heard of Inland Empire. I just never. Yeah,
there's some cities in there that's rough.
Yeah, because there's
so many.
There's a group.
Hit Boy's from the IE.
Hit Boy, yeah, I think it was Hit Boy and some other rappers that were repping the IE or Inland Empire.
The whole jerk movement. Yeah. A lot of those groups was from the IE. Okay. Yeah, but there's a lot. Kawhi Leonard, he's from LA, then moved to the IE. Yeah. So there's a lot of people that you that are famous that you know, and you're like, oh, they're from LA. Yeah. But some of them are really from the IE.
They're from
they're from LA and they moved to the IE because that was like a big thing. If you were poor and you were able to like make a little bit of money, or even like we got Section 8, we moved to the IE.
Gotcha.
So so I was there for until 6th grade. And then moved back, and I remember how mad I was. I was like, I want back to LA, because it was just a different life. And you can roam the streets, you can do whatever. It was safe, and then we moved back to LA. And when I got back, I never wanted to leave LA again, because that's when I started growing up. So I got my first job at 12 at this place called Clean and Green. Started buying shoes. We dressed different in LA than IE. So when I came back to LA, they were calling me corny and all, I ain't know about, at the time, Tommy Hilfiger was popping, Ralph Lauren, like all this stuff. I had no idea about none of it. I was still wearing JC Penney's, So I immediately was like, oh, shoot. Like I had to adapt moving from LA to IE. Yeah. And now moving back, I had to adapt again. But that was the best thing that happened for me. So, yeah, so I lived in the IE for a little bit, Riverside, Moreno Valley, and there's little place in Moreno Valley called Edgemont. That's like the hood of Moreno Valley. I really don't know what it's like now, but I lived in Edgemont and then Riverside, Edgemont, Moreno Valley. Yeah.
So when you moved back to LA, how old were you then?
I want to say 11 or 12. I know I was there when I was 12 because that's when I got my first job because you had to be 13. I needed shoes, right? Because my dad used to buy me J's when I was young, and then when we didn't see them for a while, it was Payless shoes, And people say Payless shoes like that. Nobody was legit Payless shoes. You get a $25 pair of shoes, and then if I can act right, I can get a pair of Chucks. But for the most part, it's Payless shoes. So in LA, in Moreno Valley, it was fine. People talk trash about me. I talk trash back. I'm from LA. All we do is talk trash. So people would like judge me, but nobody wanted to say nothing. Yeah. Plus, I'm from LA, so our demeanor is different. Like when we talk trash, if it's aggressive, it's gonna lead to a fight. They like the people out there wasn't used to that at the time. Yeah. But I was. So once they saw like this dude fights all the time, nobody talk trash. But when you move back to LA now, it's like taking a lion out of his environment and then putting him in the zoo and then putting him back in the environment. He got to learn to adapt. So I moved back to LA. I want to say we'll just call it 12 because I know I was there at 12, and then started working and shoes. That's all I got in shoes. Yeah.
Was there any like defining moments from that point on in LA that were like really maybe difficult for you to go through? I mean, you had obviously were in an environment that was volatile. Is there any like one experience that you think was ultra defining for like how you think or react to the world? Is there any?
What I think, so in LA, you don't really, like there's not too many, like, because it all comes every day. You're getting hit with something every day. You just learn to navigate. But when I was in the IE, we had Section 8, but of course we couldn't like really afford to live where we were at. So when I remember my mom put me in basketball my first year and it was $40. I wanted to play soccer too. And she made me choose. And I was like, I'm gonna play basketball. Yeah. So I played my first year. We won the championship. Nice. And I remember the score was 6-5. I was like 5, something like that, right? 6-5. And I had 5 points. So the next year I didn't play because we couldn't afford to play. But the coach of the team we beat contacted us and was like, if you let them play, I'll pay for everything. Yeah. This random white dude. I didn't even know who he was.
Yeah.
But he was the coach of the team. And so for the next few years while I lived in the IE, he would come pick me up and pay for everything, take me everywhere. If we had a tournament in San Diego, he paid. Tournament, and wherever we went, he paid for everything. And what that showed me was, keep in mind, I never had any relationship with white people up until this.
Mm-hmm.
So in my head, white people were rich. Like just because everybody on my team, he had 2 black kids. Everybody else was the nicest shoes, all this different stuff. I had beat up shoes, but I was the nicest kid on the court at the time. So, but so in my head, I'm like, dang, like white people are rich. I didn't know there was poor white people at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy to think of, but that's a kid's mind. Like everybody around you are black and Hispanic. And then you go and you meet some white people for the first time and you don't see a poor white person. There's no social media. There's no nothing. Yeah. All you see is on TV and what's in front of you. So I know at that time as a little kid, I'm thinking white people are cops and white people are rich. Like whatever they're doing. Because I'd go to his house and he had this huge house and grass. If you look at my yard, I don't like my yard back home. There's just no grass. And it's sad. It's not saying that the grass doesn't grow there, but that's just not
I hear what you're saying.
On the hierarchy, that's not a level of importance. Like, hey, make sure you know. So seeing all that and seeing that there was something else, when I moved back to LA, I knew that there was something outside of the area I was in. So my approach to everything was, well, I got to get here. And now I'm moving in with my dad. And I still have my mom too, so I don't ever want to discredit her. But I moved in with my dad, and now I got this dude who is all about business, like responsibility and ownership. Okay. And that's when he knew I loved basketball. So he would tell me what I got to do to not get better at basketball, because he was a football player. He went to USC. But he would teach me what I need to do to get out of where I'm at and get to the next level as far as what I can control, as far as working hard, getting good grades, staying in line, staying away. He would, don't ever smoke, don't ever drink and all that stuff. So he stayed on me about that. And with having what I learned from this guy, Craig Ellis, which I've even tried to find him before, but from this coach, knowing that there's something outside of what I was raised enough knowing, and then having my dad basically giving me the blueprint of taking care of responsibility and owning up to every decision I make is mine. Yeah. That is what helped me make some smart decisions over the next few years. Yeah.
So having a positive father role model in your life, man, that's huge, bro, because a lot of us don't get that, no matter where you're from, the hood or not, you know what I mean? A lot of us don't get good mentorship from our fathers. So to have that, especially in an environment where you were at, it probably, like you said, your brother, now you're sharing that your dad, like these different people help keep you in track and not like become victim to your environment, which obviously a lot of people from those areas do, because like you said, they don't see nothing else. No. You see these 3 options. The first 2 are unlikely. The one that for sure you can do is right there around you at all times, and you can get into it. Plan. Yeah. So and it's just there. Yeah. It's like, to become an artist, like, and maybe some of those neighborhoods like in LA, you do have people that did make it in music. So you see it's possible. You do have athletes that do make it, but it's not as common as seeing the homies that are doing things in the streets, pulling up every day and something fresh, and you're like, yo, that's what I want. Yeah,
nice chains. You like, man.
Right? Yeah, I remember
possible. Seeing a pager for the first time. Yeah, and my brother had a pager. I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta get a pager. like everybody had a pager, so I was like, I gotta get a pager. But
yeah. So, like Nip said, hacking the matrix, man. It sounds like there was people that really helped you figure your way out through that maze, man. So
100%.
Yeah. So did you live with your dad through high school?
Yeah. So I lived with my dad. My mom lived. So my dad had a house. My dad had plenty of jobs before. He used to do construction. He was a carpenter. And then he went to USC. Didn't graduate because he got injured freshman year. And back then in the 60s, you're a black athlete and you're injured or whatever. He didn't even play a game, but you get injured. They just took his scholarship and replaced it. So he left went to another school. He's always been smart. he's always wanted to go to school. My grandma, his mom was like a drill sergeant. So he ended up going into accounting to math. So he became an accountant, and that's when he met my mom. My mom was working at a bank, and my dad was working at a little higher position. He met my mom, and that happened. So my mom had 5 kids. He had 1. And I tell my mom to this day, I don't know what my dad was thinking.
They had 5 kids
No,
together?
my mom had 5 with her first husband.
Already, okay.
And then my dad had 1 with his first relationship. No, my sister, older sister.
7 of you total, right?
So there's 8 total, but I have 7 brothers and sisters. So my dad had 1. My mom had 5 from her first marriage. And then my dad had me, and my mom and dad had me and my younger brother.
Okay.
But I tell my mom to this day, I don't know what my dad was thinking. Like, he met you with 5 kids. Like, hey, power to him.
Good man.
Nah, that's a joke, but I do tell my mom that.
No, I hear you. Yeah.
But no, they met. So my dad wasn't an accountant, so he was working for First Interstate Bank, and he was upstairs making good money. And then Wells Fargo bought him and they laid off a lot of the people. So when that happened to him, and he couldn't afford to financially take care of us, he just kind of disappeared. That's why I didn't see him for years. So he just disappeared, and it's not that he disappeared. He just didn't come see us no more. We knew where I didn't know where he was at, but he lived in the same house. So then finally, we lived an hour away, like I was saying. So then my mom popped up on him when we had to leave the IE, and then from that point on, I mean, he turned to smoking and drinking, and he was just like working side jobs just to make enough money to do whatever. But when me and my brother and my mom moved in, he immediately got back to hustling. He was picking up jobs, using whatever his degree and all that stuff. He was using all that.
So you all moved, like you, your mom, everybody moved back.
We had a house that my grandma had that he ended up paying for while he was taking care of her, and then he built like a studio on the garage. So while my grandma lived in the front, he stayed in that studio he built. So when my mom moved in, he asked her, "Do you want to live in the front with your kids?" My mom, she's wanted a little peace and quiet, so she moved to that little back room. She got kids getting ready to go to high school and stuff. She don't want to hear everything. So she stayed in that back house, and my dad stayed in the front with us. But it was, my dad worked, my mom worked, like I want to say graveyard. So we rarely saw her during the week. And then my dad worked during the day. So when we'd come home, my dad would be on the front porch, smoking, whatever. So if I talked to anybody about something during high school, I never really got like affection from my dad as far as like the I love yous and all that, which I do know people need that, kids need that, but when you're from where I'm from, you rather have the structure and the ownership over that, and that's what I got. But my mom loved us. So on the weekends, that's when we would like really see my mom. Then we go back to Watts because that's where all my family was at, and hang out with my grandma, my brothers and sisters and stuff. But so I had both of them there, but all throughout high school, it wasn't your typical come home, sit at the table thing. I would see my dad. We'd eat the same thing all the time. It would be a full chicken, green beans, corn, and rice. I swear. Like that was it. But I didn't complain because I was working. So I was working since 12. I always had a job. So I was getting my Popeyes and stuff like that. But so I did have both. So that's why I always give both of them credit, because my mom helped me. I was able to see a lot of stuff, how my mom was treated, how the stuff she's been through dealing with my older brother, and not that my older brother's not a bad, he's one of the funniest people you'll meet. If you saw him, you'd probably get, like, off his demeanor and presence, you'd probably get a little nervous the second you meet him. He's hilarious. But he was, him and his friends were doing stuff and whatever, so there's a lot of stress on my mom. So but to watch her, she's very religious. So instead of her turning to like any type of substance, she always just prayed and go to church. We was one of those families in church all the time. But so that's how life was from until I left at 21. And I was just basketball. I just made sure basketball was at the forefront of everything I did. So if I was going to go do something, is this going to interfere with basketball? No, I'm doing it.
Okay.
If there was something that was questionable, me and the homies wanted to do, I'm like, man, could this end basketball for me? Yeah, all right, I ain't going to go, y'all. But the thing is, I ended up having a few close friends, who we're close friends to this day. They all still live in LA, that they were on the same thing as me. They were all basketball or football players, all within the same age of 1 to 2 years. And we were all from that same environment of nothing. And we all had older people around us. Like, man, y'all stupid. What are y'all, this, that, and the other? But you got to understand, we still, we still we still fight. We still,
have to,
did
right?
that type of stuff. Yeah. But as far as really anything that was going to get us, locked up or anything, we stayed away from it.
Yeah,
And we all stayed away from it. But like nobody called us a square or nothing like that. For one, because we all talk trash. We was all like family. We was all cool, and we'd all get down, no problem. So it's different than somebody trying to do something right and they're getting bullied. We didn't get bullied for doing what was right. We got praised. We got talked about because it was like funny, like, oh, y'all squares. But that was just a joke. Everybody who was calling us squares,
they respected it. Yeah, they respected
100%.
it. Yeah. They knew why you guys were staying away and trying to give the athletics a real shot. You can't do both, Some do. but rarely it doesn't work out. Yeah,
100%. You might not even make it to see it. So,
Well, so you were really focused on basketball through high school. You played on the high school team and all that. Yeah. Okay, so what was the transition from once you got done with high school? Where were you there from the time you said you were 21?
So when I graduated, my senior year kind of got messed up by it didn't get messed up, but going into my senior year, I thought this was going to be my year because my goal was to eat the leftovers of my homie Frank, because Frank was highly recruited, star player, and then he ended up transferring out of the school for whatever reason, and I still hold that to him to this day. I'm like, yeah, you're the reason why I couldn't go far, because he had all the people looking at him, he had all the hype. So going into I didn't play my junior year for certain reasons. So you thought you'd get attention
because they were pointing. Okay,
anything he left on the plate, I was taking it, and he he ended up leaving the school right before the season started. And then my coach got fired for some stuff. So going into my senior year, we had a meeting and they were saying they had the team vote, do we want to cancel the season or bring in some random coach? So we ended up bringing in a teacher to coach us. And we still went deep in the playoffs because we still had shooters, man. We had players, but we were missing a key piece. And I ain't gonna throw him under the bus, but he definitely left and messed it up. So when I graduated high school, I was going to go to Jackson State University. I always wanted to go to Arizona State. That fell through. So I was going to go to Jackson State. And, being from LA and then calling the school to talk about if my acceptance and all that was still good. And I missed the deadline for housing. And then I was just talking to them. They was like, you got family in this deep Southern accent. And I'm like, at the time, LA is the world to me. So I was like, heck no, I ain't going to Mississippi. Like, I ain't going out there. It sounded so country to me at the time. Because you got to think, we didn't have all this internet and stuff. So I was like, that's too far. So I ended up trying to go to JUCO. I went to one JUCO and went and talked to the coach. He had his team put together and all this stuff. So then I just didn't play. So I started working. I was already working. I was at UPS. So then I went and got a second job at Kohl's. So I was working UPS graveyard. I'd get off at like 8 a.m. and then I'd go home, take a shower, go to school. And then after school, I'd go to Kohl's. And I did that 3 days a week, but I worked at UPS 5 days. So certain days I'd sleep, certain days I'd nap in the car. And that's what I did. And then I was big into fashion. So I'm from the East Side, right? And a lot of my East Side friends are probably going to say something about this, but fashion's not big on the East Side. It's grimy. That's where it's like, that's where you see all the stereotypes you see about LA, the Chucks, the Dickies, the Cortez for the Hispanics, the essays. That's where you're going to see it at, on the East Side. So I grew up in that, but I always wanted to be fresh. I always had friends. I played basketball AAU with West Side cats and stuff. So I always saw, what they were wearing and different stuff. And don't get me wrong, there are fresh people on the East Side, especially now because but back then, I always was fresh. So I took my mom to get her hair done one time, and this lady came out of the store. They were opening this new, they called it a hip hop clothing store, right? So they opened up this new store, and she saw me walking, and she called me over there, and she was like, where do you work? I was like, I work at UPS and Kohl's. I was like, why? And then she was like, you want to work here? And I was like, oh. So I went inside, saw the clothing store. I was like, oh, I'm about to get fresh. So I went in there. It was a bunch of like all your typical Rockaware, fat form. I was like, oh, I'm about to get fresh. So I went there, and then she hired me on the spot, and then I ended up becoming the manager of that, and I quit UPS because that graveyard that was work. Yeah, loading them trucks was work. So I just started going to school, but at that point, I never had a direction of what I was going to do after basketball. So I was just at school to be cool, hanging out with some of my closest friends, a guy who I call my brother. He's my daughter's godfather. I met him at Santa Monica College. I met some of my close friends right now to this day at Santa Monica College. So I show up. One of my homeboys, Jag, he raps. We used to be sitting at the lunch table. He'd be rapping, and he never went to class.
Yeah.
Backpack, notepad, lunch tables in college. So I go there, hang out. I wouldn't even care about school. Like I didn't know what I was gonna do.
Yeah.
But I still just got good grades. I still passed my classes, and then, I went to another school. Long story short, I went to another school, but we also had started promoting parties. We had a dude that was a few years older than us, and he was working for a label, and he was like the big homie to my boy Adib and all that. So he was like, yo, y'all need to start this party. And Adib had this crew called 110. And it's one idea, 10 dudes, everything we do 110%, right? So he was, and at this time, me and Adib like best friends. We inseparable. So we throw our first party, and we do that, and it makes a little bit of money, but nothing major. But I didn't see a future in that. Personally, I mean, he has that entertainment 110 collaborated with another group called Blackout, and now they're one Supreme Team. I'm both of the dudes that started there are my boys Adib and Gary. So they started that, and that was one of the biggest entertainment things in LA. So I'm like, dang man, maybe I shouldn't, but it wasn't a risk I was gonna take. So in between that, stuff happened. But what happened was I ended up joining the Air Force out of nowhere. But I stopped playing basketball. I quit. I went to a school to play JUCO, and there was a bus strike in LA. Public transportation. At the time, my mom had to catch the bus like an hour away to get retrained on a job because she had surgery on her wrist for carpal tunnel. So she had no way of getting there. So I dropped out of school to take her because I had to either choose drop out of school or stop working. I wasn't gonna stop working. So I dropped out of school and I would take her and then go pick her up. So I was just like, basketball's not meant for me because every time something good happens, I have to end it. So I gave up basketball, and then while I was making good money, being the manager for this clothing store, I ended up quitting Kohl's, and then I was just being the manager of the clothing store, doing parties, and then just living because I lived at home. The only bill I had was a cell phone and card note. So here I'm bringing in like $3,500 back in 2004.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
I'm taking girls on dates, and I'm paying for your in and out. It was cool, but I just did not awesome. This just wasn't nothing I planned.
You're like what, in 20?
I'm 20.
This time?
I was 20 because we were promoting parties before we were 21 because we had our older homie. Right. So I was 20 in 2004. And then in 2005, I remember early that year, I was getting wind that the store might sell. So now I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to do this party thing. And there's a story behind it, but I ended up taking somebody to a recruiting thing for the Air Force. Yeah. And dude's selling me a dream, man. You're going to be a special ops. And I'm like, I don't mind being a killer. I'll go out there. And then end up joining and became an aircraft mechanic. And they...
Where do you say that?
It's the bottom of the barrel of the military. So, but it sounded so elaborate. It was like this hydraulic Superman saver of the airplane type. But it's a long title that made you think like, I'm about to be working with the president. And so I ended up doing that, and that was the best decision I ever made in my life. It was none of my friends believed me. Yeah. They didn't believe me until I had a barbecue for the 4th of July at Going Away Barbecue. Yeah. And they all showed up, and my family was there, and they was like, yo, you really going? Yeah. I'm like, bro, I leave tomorrow. Yeah. And that's the first time my friends, because you got to think LA at the time was authentic. It's not like how it is now because it's such a heavy influence because so many people moved there. At the time, LA was the most fun place you could be. It was authentic, man. It was fun. And nobody could believe I was leaving. I was trying to get sent back to LA like through the military. And first base, Japan. So that's what happened. And that's how I got in the military.
So, like, you joined up, you went through training, and then you were in Japan, right? Just like within probably like
I left the 5th of July
or something
for boot camp, and boot camp was different because now I'm putting in this environment with people who not only I've never been around, these like backwood dudes and stuff, but people who have never been around people like me. So you can just imagine.
It's a whole melting pot.
And when you show up to boot camp, it's not like you look around like, which bed I'm gonna get? They go here. So I remember they put me in between two dudes that did not like me from the jump.
Oh my goodness.
But we made it through.
They probably do that on purpose, so at some level, right?
I hope so. Yeah, because I'm like, why? I remember one of the kids said something. This is what he said. His name was Rhodes. He said, "I'm not talking to him or any of the others, right?" So yeah, right.
Oh
so
my
I looked at the
goodness.
ceiling and was like, "What did I do?"
Yeah.
And then I'm still fresh out of LA, so I'm still a hothead.
Yeah.
So immediately I'm like, all right, I'm gonna fight this dude.
Yeah, no doubt.
But he ended up getting to know. He's a very unathletic kid, and boot camp is about passing physical tests and stuff, parts of it. And I was an athlete my whole life. I didn't really lift weights or nothing like that, but running and push-ups, so I ended up helping him more than anything. And then he ended up like giving me kudos at the end of it and thanking me. So
it's probably just like you said. It's just because he never been around.
He had never talked, had a conversation.
I don't even like saying one of you, but you know what I mean.
He had never had a conversation with a black dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Prior to meeting people at the pre-boot camp thing that you go to. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. I have a story from like when I was locked up.
Yeah,
I won't say the whole thing, but short story of it is like the first day I'm in jail, I see this huge Aryan on the yard. He's like 6'6", got the swastika, like just big old dude, like what you imagine in a movie of a guy you don't want to cross paths with in jail.
American History X type.
Yeah, and so and I remember saying like, please God, don't let me end up being like near this guy, or like, you know what I mean? Like, don't put me in a cell with that guy or whatever. Well, I end up getting put in a unit with him. And I knew people from the street, so I knew all sorts of people when I was in there. And one of my homies, Terrio, black guy, came into my unit, and I was like, yo, bro, like, I'm trying to tell him, but it all happened so quick.
Yeah.
Dude comes in and he's like standing behind Terrio. So like this whole situation almost went really bad. And, I'm not going to say dude's name, but we'll just call him Big Tony. Big Tony, he tells me, he's like, yo, bro, don't ever he says the N-word in my room. Yeah. And I'm like, yo, like, my bad. I was trying to tell homie to get out of here. He's like, I don't care if you want to talk to them, but don't ever let him in my room, because it was his room, not mine. You're his. Visiting. I'm just allowed to live here, if he chooses so. So, but I got to know him, and really same situation. He never really been around homies, you know what I mean? Been around brothers. So he liked me because I wasn't a tweaker. I was solid, So me and him got close.
Easy roommate.
And I would be talking to him about these things. I'm like, yo, like where does this really come from? Why do you really feel this way? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really make sense to me why you would hate another man because of his skin color. Yeah. Like, we're all the same. Like, I just don't, like, tell me why you feel this way. He'd bring up things like, it's in the Bible. I'm like, I've read the whole Bible front to back. There's nothing in there that literally says you
at all.
Yeah. So we broke this whole thing down. I'm going to end it up quick, but this situation happened in there with some other fellas on the other side of things. And this whole situation came about where like all my black homies, all my Latino homies, and this homie, Big Tony, all came together to handle a situation in there. Dang. And so,
kumbaya situation.
Yeah. So crazy thing is like one of my homies, Vince, he was an artist. Tony was an artist, like tattoo artist and stuff. Vince was a rolling 60. Total, like these dudes would never be in the same room before this transpired, before this event transpired. Well, like later that day, before I got like raided and took up out and to put in the hole. But before that happened, I went into Tony's room because I was now in a different unit or a different room. And I go in and Tony and Vince are drawn together. And I come in there and I'm like, yo, this is so cute. And they're like, shut the fuck, you know what I mean? But it was really funny. And then Tony, after that, he grew his hair out to cover up his swastika. And he, still about it, but he would come and talk to the black homies with me all the time. And like, we just broke that barrier with him, That's cool. And it was just because I think I was that catalyst for him to understand, like, yo, like these people, they're good people, bro. Like, or, not all of us in there were good people, but there was a lot of us just lost in situations. And it was really cool to see him switch his mindset from being totally tattoos, swastika on the head to like I'm gonna grow
To
my
arts and
hair
crafts
out,
for the black
cover it
dude.
up. Yeah, arts and crafts.
You're like the white Daryl Davis.
I might be on.
That's the guy that got into the Ku Klux Klan and flipped off the black
okay.
blue singer.
Yeah.
All right.
But it's a story I'd like to share on the podcast in full sometime. But this isn't about that story.
No,
this
that's
is
cool.
about you.
That's a cool story though. But sometimes it's just a conversation that they're having. They just don't know. Like a lot of people think, you know how it is with like I said, if you're from where I'm from and the only white people you see are cops, and then you look on TV and the TV you're watching is showing like racist white people, what are you gonna think?
Yeah.
That white people are racist.
Yeah.
And if you never get out of that environment and then you become an adult and think that, it's very hard to change an adult.
Exactly.
I don't want nothing to do with trying to change adults. That's why I try to deal with kids, because you can easily put them gut. And it's the same thing. If you got this kid Rose who's from West Virginia who never talked to a black dude, all he sees is what the news is showing and this, that. When he sees one, he's going to immediately think he's going to be like what he saw. Yeah. So he didn't have to let. I'm not even gonna say the other dude's name because I actually fought the other dude, but he let him know I'm not talking to blah blah blah, you know, et cetera. And it's just like right now, if you saw a tiger. You've never been around a tiger, right? So if you saw a tiger in person right now, what's the first? All right.
Yeah.
Okay, a lion.
Not in the wild.
That's what I'm saying, right? So you've never been. So you've seen movies of tigers. Yeah. You know what tigers do or lions do. Yeah. So if one came walking in this room right now, what's your first reaction? You're gonna want to run, right? You're not gonna survive.
Freeze.
But
I don't think I would.
But you're gonna be scared, right? Now, granted, that lion or tiger is gonna kill you.
I'd be mad scared, bro.
This is a drastic scenario because that lion tiger is really gonna kill you.
Yeah.
But you're basing everything off that lion tiger from what you saw and what you heard.
Well, you assume it's gonna kill you, right?
You assume 100%. That's like I thought a grizzly bear. When I saw a grizzly bear out with a friend, I thought we were dead. He was like, no, this time of year, just stay still, let them walk by. They're not gonna. I'm like. I'm thinking if a grizzly bear see me, he's just gonna kill me. Yeah. But granted, I don't ever want to be around a grizzly bear. But that's just the thing. Like if this is all you know, is fear, or like if you see something that you're like, man, if I ever see one, and they try that on me, I'm gonna do this, that, and the other. When you see one, you're gonna be ready. You're gonna tense up everything, and that's just how it is. A lot of times they just don't have the because. Like I said, I learned early, fortunately, because of that coach put me in that environment. But if you got people who have never been out of that environment and you're from LA and all you know is blacks and Mexicans, where I'm from, the only Asian people are the people at the liquor stores, the you know, either the Chinese restaurant, Thai restaurant, or they don't live in my neighborhood. So that's what we know them all from, is from what we grew up with. So I know that growing up, I knew that blacks and Mexicans are Hispanics, not just Mexicans, but blacks and Hispanics were poor. In my head, unless they did something big. And then I thought that just white people were rich. Yeah. that's a kid's, that's my whole, and I'm not the only one. But yeah, so.
Bro, yeah, that makes 100% sense. Yeah. Like you, and a lot of people from those areas that I'm sure you know homies back home that never really even got away from 100%. Where they've been at their whole lives. Like they don't, and haven't experienced anything really but the block.
I have friends I can't even talk to. Granted, none of my close friends. Yeah. But I have friends that if I go back and we all get together, I can't even hold real conversations with them because of their views. And just like how I expect if I have a friend who is Mexican or white, and then they have, and we're good friends, and then their friends or their family, our friends are like, man, I don't like him because he's this, that, and that. I expect them, if they're anything like me, then they're starting to separate themselves from them. There's no way you can be around that all the time. And you can't tell me that you love me or you care about me, and then you're around this person all the time that's just completely hates me. Like there's no way. Like that's not even, you can't even do that where I'm from. It's like you not getting along with this person and then your friend hanging around them. Like that's just not where we're from. So that's how
I have big problems with that kind of stuff.
Well, a lot of times you have to get away from it because there's business and stuff. But anyways, back to the story. That's how I got to military and joined. I got to Japan that way. Like by first base, I was trying to get every California base. Let me stay in Cali. If I gotta go to the Bay Area or wherever, let me stay in Cali. And they was like, nope. I didn't even put Japan on my list. Yeah, send me to Japan.
But Were you like, once you got there, was that like just an amazing experience? Or
Oh, it
what
was so dope.
Yeah.
Because I was a sneaker dude.
Yeah.
Like when I say there was no such thing as a sneakerhead back then. We didn't have titles, and we got talked about. So you was just a dude that had way too many sneakers, and people would call you a girl. Like, oh, you like a woman, man. You got all these shoes. But the people that was doing it didn't care.
Yeah.
But the ones they did not understand it. Oh, why you got a shoe? Why you got a toothbrush with you all the time?
Yeah.
Like they didn't understand that. So even when I was going from middle school to high school, I already had over 150 pair of shoes. And this is back in the late 90s. That was, you didn't see people with sneaker collections. It wasn't a collection.
Yeah.
It was just, I just bought shoes so frequent that I had so many. And then by the time I'm joining the Air Force, I got like 400 and something, 500 pair of shoes. So I get to Japan. I wasn't gonna take any, but I got there and some dudes I met there tried to flex on me in Texas. One of my close friends, his name is Monty. He's from VA. He's a sneaker dude too. We met in Texas and then we was both going to Japan. And he was one of the first dudes I met that was into sneakers like me. And I'm like, okay, but at the time he wasn't really keeping them and taking care of it. He's from that DC area, that DMV area. He's from Alexandria, I believe. So he would be out there. So sneakers was big out there, but not everybody was keeping them clean. They just stayed buying them. Yeah. So he was like, I had like 15 shoes sent to me, like from home. Like, dang, he go in my little dorm room, the closet, I'm just full of shoes. Like, dang. So he started paying more attention to it. And right now, because I gave all my shoes away, he probably has one of the best sneaker collections that I know personally. Wow. Because in Japan, all we did was, I got there before him, and I would just get the train system, and I'd go to Tokyo, and I'd just find sneaker stores. There's this store in LA that used to be hidden. It used to be a hidden gem. And it's in, I want to say Koreatown. I might be wrong, but I think it's in Koreatown. And it's called Riff. Back in the day, Riff was, it's a consignment store. So it was not popular. There was no internet popping, nothing like that. So I stumbled across it while riding my bike because, like, it's either Chinatown or Koreatown. I feel bad for not knowing it. But if I ride my bike downtown, because I worked at McDonald's downtown, I would ride my bike by it and I always pop in, like, oh, shoot. So I would always go there and get shoes. So when I told them I was leaving for Japan, he's like, yo, our sister store is in Japan. Oh, yeah. So I was like, oh, for real? So I knew, okay, I'm gonna go to Shinjuku. I'm gonna go to Shibuya. I'm gonna go to all these places and go look for sneakers. So when I went to their sister store, I was like, where's some other stores at? And he's telling me these cities, and I'm like, internet just gets, it's popping. It's 05, 06. So I just go look for these shoes, and I'd hop on the train. So every weekend, I was down there spending all my money on sneakers that are going for thousands right now. I remember when the Diamonds came out, the SBs. Diamond Supply, the Tiffany's? Yeah. 2 pair. Yeah. Oh, the De La Souls came out. Oh, let me get a pair. The Atmos. Atmos was in Japan, started in Japan. Oh, let me get all the Atmos collabs. I remember I flew to Singapore to get a pair of SB Dunks. Flew to Singapore. Flew to England. I flew to Italy to get a pair of the Quai ones. Because at the time, they weren't being released everywhere. They was only in Italy for the tournament. So I would go, was it Italy or Paris? It might be one of the two, I forgot. But I flew there to get the pair of shoes. I flew to Singapore. That's how much crazy traveled. It was.
You don't even know. It's like Paris. It was crazy. Yeah, I went though. I got them.
But sneakers was my life. Yeah. So I put my headphones on, put on like some not Wale. Like Wale came out with his first album.
I love Wale, dude.
At the time, I wasn't the biggest fan because a lot of his early music had so much go-go. Yeah. And my boy Monty put me on to it, but it didn't click. So I think I put on like Lil Wayne Carter 2, or I put on Jay-Z. And I just put my headphones on, my disc, because iPods came out like around that time. Yeah. So I put on my disc and I hit the train, man, my backpack, and I just be walking around all over different cities in Japan looking for sneakers.
Man, that's amazing, bro. So it sounds like you getting into the military and just being kind of out there like that, that's probably why you're so adventurous. Like, you just, like, in the shoes, chasing the shoes, was like, I'm willing to go by myself to wherever to get these things.
Well, the military is what got me traveling. So
right.
Military
but getting over there and being a sneakerhead is really what led to you. So military and shoes has really led to you being adventurous, like, it sounds like.
Well, as far as, like, outdoors?
No, just like, going. 100%. Like, you just go places. No, I get into the military. Before the military, I only left LA for basketball.
So joining the military, that was the first time it like took me out. They didn't give me like a little head start, put me in, maybe like Texas, because Texas is a different country too, right? Yeah. Put me in like Texas or Florida. Florida's definitely a different country. They sent me straight to Japan, but it was the best thing because this was my first time being out of the house at 21. and it allowed me to start molding myself young and be me.
Yeah.
Without the influence of LA. So now I get to see if everything that I was raised with and stuff, is that really me, like this LA attitude and culture and stuff? Or is there something that I just couldn't explore because it wasn't popping in LA? Because in LA, you only do what's popping at the time. It's even more so now probably. But you only do what's popping. I tried to be different. Like my boys will tell you, I tried to dress different. And you get roasted enough, like that didn't work. Then you try this. I used to try stuff. I remember when the Sidekick came out, this other device came out called an Ogo. And it's this big two-way texting machine, right? And I was like, I'm gonna get this. And my homie was like, yeah, it's basically the same thing, right? I bought it and got it first day. Man, look at that big old thing you got on. I'm like, dude, you told me to, so I was always trying to be different, but everything I tried in LA, I was like, man, that's whack. Granted, it was whack. The stuff I did was whack, but I knew there was always something different. Yeah. So when I got to Japan, this was allowing me to be who I am. And one of the big things about me being outdoors and stuff is, I remember when I was young, so I told you I worked for Clean and Green. Well, when I was 13, I worked for another portion of it where they worked with the California Conservation Corps, and they would go out and rebuild trails and mountains.
Oh, cool.
So I was like, man, so I convinced one of my homies to get the job with me, my boy Gerv. And he's like, all right, cool, I'll make money. He was 13, right? Yeah. And so what we would do is we would go hiking all the time through Malibu and all that to prepare us for Arrowhead Mountain. So for 2 weeks, we'd hike around Southern Cali. And then for 2 weeks, we would go to the mountains and rebuild trails, stay in tents, cook your food. They dig a hole, put two logs across it. They call it the cheek spreader. We did all that, took a bath in the water, all that for 2 weeks. 2 kids from the east side. Yeah. And then we go back home, 2 weeks of hiking and preparing, 2 weeks of doing that. Well, at one of the times, the first time I went out there, it was a lot of stuff going on in my neighborhood. And the Hispanic gangs and one of the black gangs was beefing, and it was shootouts, right? So all the older dudes, the OGs was telling us like, yo, I need to stay away from here right now. So like telling us in my neighborhood. So at that time while they're telling us this and it's going crazy, and I remember one of my friends got killed right before this too. So things was bad. I ended up going out there for doing the trail for 14 days. And I remember, the whole time I'm thinking about home. Yeah. But I'm doing my job and everything. Then I go back home and it's hot. Right. It's still, so I'm going and hiking and doing, then I go back out the second time. And the second time I go out is when I realized like, man, it's so peaceful out here. Like, this is crazy. Like, we didn't have cell phones. This is 90. So we didn't have nothing. All we had was, we played games out there. We would do stuff, but we fish, we do all that. But it was like, you didn't have to worry about nothing that I was worrying about back home. Yeah. And that's the first time that I took the outdoors and mountains and hiking, and it became like a stress reliever for me. Because when that time in LA in my neighborhood, it was hot. So you're always the way you're moving and everything was. And I'm a middle school, so that's how I got into hiking. And my dad bought me like Swiss Army knives as a kid. Like he did all that stuff because he did all that growing up. So he bought me all the Swiss. I still have it to this day, but that's how I incorporated the outdoors into my life. Because whenever I'm making a big decision or whenever I'm stressing or overwhelmed, I go on a hike that's not going to kill me the way that hike we did, but that's going to like tire me out. That's going to push me. And then when I get to the top and I'm sitting there, when you're trying to come down, you're just relaxing, that's that time where you can really think. Because your body's in survival mode. You're just relaxing, and that's when I can get it all out. So that's how I ended up being such a big hiker and then traveling the world to hike and do all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like you getting into that was like the perfect time for you to be so young and then be from an environment and realize like, oh, over here, out here, this is peaceful. Yeah. This is something, like, because a lot,
180
if you never got out of your environment and you didn't have those experiences, we don't know, bro, like how you could have turned out. But because you were able to have that and like tap in with nature, like I'm sure, like you said, it like clicked something in your mind
100%.
Where it's like,
this is different. Like this is peaceful. Like I'm out there where typically people are up all night because they're like they can't sleep because of the the bugs but I'm knocked out in my tent because I'm like I'm in my tent like slumped because like the stuff that we're worried about.
This shit don't bother me.
You ain't got no helicopters. You ain't got nothing going on. You just out there. Man. It's completely silent. You hear everything. But they was like, dang, how's this kid? Like, how are you so calm out here? I'm like, bro,
y'all don't have real problems like me. These ain't problems.
But I remember that, and it's crazy. And you know what's even crazier? As a kid, knowing that, right? Knowing that, like, if I just go hike and stuff, this will ease stress. LA is such a competitive city that once I stopped doing that job, like I did that for a year. And then I started working on another branch of it. And then when I got to high school, I stopped doing it alone. I started getting real, like McDonald's and stuff. Right. Like that. But I stopped hiking and stuff because it wasn't cool. Yeah. So I was like, man, if I ask my homies, like, you want to go hiking? 90s, I ain't getting my Air Force Ones dirty. Right, exactly. I ain't getting my, so that's I went away from it. And actually not until I moved to Spokane is when I got back into it.
Really?
Yeah.
That long?
We gotta think. Once I left Spokane, I'm in Japan and I'm in England. And, so I'm like, I'm not living the same. I'm not in an environment.
You didn't hike in Japan at all?
Mount Fuji. Yeah. But didn't even get to the finishing part of it because of the weather. Because it's only like a month and a half that you can do it. Right. And then so that's one of my lists of things I got to do. I got to go back.
Did you snowboard in Japan?
Heck no, I ain't snowboard. I got to.
I think we did talk about that before.
Snowboard? What?
Yeah, dude, they got...
No, that just... Look, you know why that's people in LA are starting to snowboard? Like people from... Because of social media.
Oh, for sure.
When I first started...
But I'm just saying, like, Japan... I'm just saying, though, snowboarding in Japan is like...
I told you. I had one goal in Japan. Sneakers. Sneakers. Like 2.5 years of When I left Japan and came to America, I had so many exclusive pairs of shoes because they used to only be released in Japan. Nike had a Co.JP.
I know. I'm listening to Shoe Dog right now and how they all started.
So you had Euros.
Everything in Japan was
you
how
had Euros.
Nike started.
They only came out in Europe. Yeah. You had Co.JPs that only came out in Japan. And then you had regionals in America that only came out one East Coast, one West Coast, one South in the Midwest. Yeah. So that's how it was. And you couldn't get them unless you went there because we did not have, the means, the reselling and all that. So I was on these different websites, these different sneaker websites. And I remember one of the biggest dudes on there, it was a site called Sneaker Play. And I was really cool with this girl in New York. And I was really cool with this dude in LA. And I forgot his name until recently because I was trying to show a friend. His name is Afro Kicks. He's actually like cool friends with my brother Adib, who's but his Afro Kicks. And if you look up his Instagram, you'll see he doesn't follow the trends of these other sneakerheads, because it wasn't a thing called sneakerheads. No. But these people and Nike Talk, I was on Nike Talk, Sneaker Play, and uptowns.net. And I'd be on there, you just communicating with other dudes who like sneakers around the world. And they'd be like, yo, can you get me the Atmos Air Maxes? And I'm like, just shoot me the, MoneyGram or PayPal Western Union me the money. And then I go buy it. PayPal, and that's literally, heck no. Oh, yeah. PayPal. It was a Western Union or MoneyGram. So they send me the money and I send them, they just trust me because we had this thing. So I was sending people back in the States, Japan releases. But when a Jordan came out that was only released in Cali I'd do the same thing. Like, let me get those J's, let me get those. And that's how we was doing things back then. But Sneaker Play, uptowns.net, and Nike Talk. And we was just talking. It was different then because it wasn't about like impressing people. Because keep in mind, we didn't get love for having all these different sneakers. Like now you go out with a dope pair of shoes, every young kid, everybody's looking like, dang, he got those. Yeah, back then, the only person that knew what we had on was other dudes who was into it. So we did it because we love sneakers.
They might know you, like, they might like that. Those are like, dude looks good, but they don't know nothing about the sneakers themselves. Yeah,
some of them they'd be like, man, them is ugly. You wear a shoe with multiple, like if you wore a what the dunk out, the average person is like, man, it's ugly. But the dude who's in the sneakers, he's like, what the dunks? So that's the that's why I got out of the sneaker, because it just, for me growing up, it was something different. And then now it's just like, I mean, anybody can have a dope sneaker collection. All you need is money. That's why every rapper has it. The only rapper that had dope sneaker collections back in the day was Fat Joe, of course. DJ Clark Kent has one of the best Air Force collections. Greg Street. And the best rapper sneaker game, Wale, by far. Yeah. Wale. And Fab too, but Fab's more not like, but before the fame, Wale had the sneakers. So that's the...
Yeah, Wale is one of my favorite rap artist. He's an artist beyond rap.
One of the most underrated rappers.
Yeah, he's I think he's definitely top 3 for me right now. His stuff has been killing it the last couple of years, man. I mean, he's been killing it from day one, but I really got into him recently and listened to him a lot. Oh yeah, but obviously his sneaker.
And More About Nothing mixtape just released on iTunes. So,
I've been bumping that. Oh yeah. So all right.
Eventually, we can talk about the business if you want.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah, let's. Okay. Let's finish up like your just full thing on the Air Force. So, you were in Japan, and then how did you get from Japan over to Spokane?
So I ended up doing like 4 months in England. And then I ended up bouncing through, like, I would go stay in TDY, is what they call it, in Germany.
They call it what?
TDY, temporary duty station.
Oh, gotcha.
That means that you're not staying there permanently. You're just going there. Yeah. So then I was bouncing around different, like, just for like TDY, different places. And I was like, oh, shoot, I want to stay overseas. So I just wasn't ready to come back to the States. So I put in for Korea. And then usually when you get Korea, because back in the day, nobody wanted to go to Korea. And just because it's a little area, it's nothing bad about Korea, but it's actually one of the party state duty stations. If you like, it's like a party duty station because you couldn't take any dependents. You couldn't take your wife if you're married, your husband. You couldn't take nobody. So it's like So at the time, I had a girlfriend.
That's pretty clowny.
In Japan, and she's half black, half Korean. Yeah. And I remember she was deployed, and I was like, "Oh, I'm putting in for Korea." I'm cool. And she was like, all right, I'm putting in for it too. They sent me to Spokane. So I let her know, and then she was like, oh, we can't stay together because, blah, blah, whatever. And I was like, all right, bet. So I came to good old Spokane, Washington. I don't even say it right, but I refuse to correct it because I've been saying it wrong for so long. But I call it Spokane, man. But I came here 2007. 2007. Yeah.
That's when I graduated.
In 2007.
High school, so
came here early 20s.
All right.
Scary times, man. It was scary times. I did not like it.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember getting off the airplane and then they coming to pick me up. And we have this thing in the Air Force, right? Where if I see your name, we used to. The Air Force is different. But if and I learned this going to Japan, they'll look at your name and they'll be like, you think he's black, you think he's white, you think he's Mexican, right? Here I am, Joseph Northcutt. Right, Joseph Northcutt, right? Which I'm so proud of, but very, very, straightforward. Who the heck is this guy, right? So everybody at Fairchild, they did the same game, right? And I had a feeling they were gonna do that, so I got to the Spokane airport, this little bitty airport, and I'm sitting there. I got my headphones on, I'm just listening to music, and I'm watching these military dudes just come looking around. Just look. After like 10 minutes, I was like, yo, y'all looking for Joseph Northcutt? They was like, yeah. I was like, that's me. They was like, oh. So then they took me, but they drove me around Airway Heights. And I originally thought Airway Heights was Spokane. And this is 2007, man. Mm-hmm. Like we had Walmart. We had the casino, but not the big, not the way it is like now.
It is now, yeah.
We had...
Yeah. Taco Bell.
Maybe. McDonald's.
I think it came my senior year. We were all excited for that. It
was rough. And I'm looking around and I'm leaving Tokyo.
Yeah.
I'm leaving the sneaker and denim Mecca. At the time, you got to think True Religion was popping. Not Rock and Republic. Rock and Republic popping too, but that was from LA. But what's the Evisu? Mm-hmm. True Religion, Evisu. Even though True Religion based out of LA is in Japan.
Yeah.
So Evisu, Red Monkey. Like the denim was popping in Japan. So that's all I did was denim and sneakers. So I loved it. And then I was playing basketball for a Nike team over there. So whenever I go to the Nike stores, they'd have clips of the tournaments. So I could.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I could stretch the truth a little bit. Yeah, I play pro. I could stretch the truth to the nice Japanese people, man. I loved it. And then I go from that to Spokane, Washington.
That would have been rough.
It was exciting. It was rough.
Yeah, I bet it was really rough, man. Yeah, especially back then, because back in like that era, still people really were not excited about our city at all.
People weren't. It was still kind of like,
especially young people.
Yeah,
young people will say that.
That was the problem. Is everybody had this negative view of Spokane if you were young,
for sure,
and it's easy to adapt it. If you're somebody coming in, you'd be like, oh, if everybody feels that way. Everybody I meet, like, bro, man.
Oh, damn, you got put here, dude.
But
and people in the military feel that way.
No,
too?
100%.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's what I'm asking.
Fairchild is not a destination that people are fighting to get to.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like a sentence back in the day. It's like, you got 3 years at Fairchild. But no, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. There was no culture.
Yeah,
I
no
come out
culture.
Here, you know, I'd meet people, and
especially
I was
coming from Tokyo.
I found out that Gonzaga was here. I had no idea.
Yeah,
I knew Adam Morrison because he played against UCLA that one year. Yeah. And then I got here and like, oh, Gonzaga's here.
Yeah,
like that, that was it. And I did not. But I'm a negative person, so I was like, all right, this is what we got. I'm gonna make the best of it. And it was a horrible winter in 2008. And I had, I saw that on the podcast. Yeah. No, it was that horrible winter, right? And the dudes in my shop, because at the time, I was the only black dude in the shop. They were gearing up to go board, and they were gonna go board. And I was like, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So they take me to Mount Spokane. I'm telling them I skateboarded growing up. It was like, same thing. You got 2 different types of cool, like you got 2 different types of those young white dudes. You got the ones that's gonna be like, oh man, it's gonna be rough. And then you got the ones that's like, oh yeah, don't worry about it, man. You're good.
Yeah. Oh, you skateboarding?
Oh, you skateboard? Same thing. Same thing on snow, right? So I'm like, bet. So I rent my stuff. I go out there, take me to the Bunny Hill, and it take me about an hour just to stay up on the board. I'm going down. They was like, if you can stay up on that board, you can stay up on that rail.
Oh no. So
I remember I went off and I jumped up. It's hot, because they used to have that. It was a different Bunny Hill and like skate park. I'm not skate park, but like the
terrain park.
Yeah, it was different. At least I remember it different because I'm not a big fan of snowboarding in Mount Spokane. But I went off of it because whatever. It's snow. It's not gonna hurt. So I went off of it, and I mean, it was like just like that. I spent and landed, and I said, "All right, I'm never doing that again."
Yeah.
To this day, no matter how good I've gotten, I don't.
Rails, sir.
I don't want to. I have nothing to prove.
Yeah.
I have nothing to prove. But anyways, so we I remember this was my first and only time snowboarding for years because the kid, he's one of those like, oh, it's nothing. And I was like, all right, man. He's like, let's go up on another one. Mind you, when I was laying on the ground, he comes out of like a black, like just jumps off. So I'm like, clearly this kid is good.
Yeah.
So he's like, let's go on another one. I was like, all right, take me on one that's not as big, but it's a little bigger than the Bunny Hill. So, when you look up, if you're just looking up, you see the ones where you can see the stop. You can see the stop, and then you have a hill, and you see another one, but the hill's shorter than the other ones. So he was like, well, that hill's not big. I was like, all right, bet. So we're going up the thing, and we passed that hill, and now I can see the rest of the lift.
Summit. Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, dude, he was like, oh, you meant this hill. I got to, first thing I asked him is, how can I get down without snowboarding? Like, I'm thinking, like, can I just, like, wrap around?
Right.
He was like, you got to go down, man.
Yeah.
So I was just, like, I get to the top, and we're going, I go down. I didn't know how to stop. So I would go down, pick up speed, fall. Go down, pick up speed, fall.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? I'm getting to the bottom. I don't want nobody to see me doing this. There's a couple things down there I ain't want to embarrass. So I said, screw it. If I can stay up, I'll get to the bottom and then fall.
Yeah.
Like act like it was an accident. So I'm going down, picking up speed. Everything is great, dude. And I'm thinking this could be a thing for me. I get towards the bottom, and I didn't even try to fall yet. But my board clips. The front of my board clips. And I don't know how I fell. I just know I landed on one butt cheek, right? And boom, and I'm just spinning out of control. And my board catches the netting. And now the netting is just ripping as I'm going. And I finally stop, and I'm starfished out right there. And I'm hurting. And I remember this nice couple came over, because I just laid there. Dude. I was in so much pain, but I figured the ice would help that I was laying on. And this couple, the lady said, "Are you okay?" And I was like, I think my butt's bleeding. Pause. But I said, I think I'm bleeding. And then she was like, "Oh, do you want help?" I said, no. And I just laid there. And then finally I got up, and I went to the bathroom, and I was good to go. And I just sat. I went to sit in the car for the next hour. Yeah. I snowboarded for years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was Spokane for me. I was like, all right, I'm gonna give what Spokane's good at for a chance. And then I almost split myself in half snowboard. So I was like, screw Spokane, man. I don't want to be here no more.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man. So you're in the Air Force.
Yeah.
You get to Spokane. Not the vibe for what you're currently used to. What made you stay? The military obviously was a big factor, the main factor.
Yeah. I had a bid to do.
How was it? 3 years or how long?
I was here for 4.
4.
I was here for 4. So basically, my first 2 years was I got here late 2007.
Mm-hmm.
I deployed April 2008. I got back September 2008. I deployed Christmas Day 2008.
Where were you deployed to?
Different places. I got to in the Middle East though. I got back in May of 2009. I deployed in August 2009. So my first 2 years in Spokane, I was here by the months, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, so of course, I'm not building a whole bunch of friends outside the military. I met my daughter's mom. So 2009, she got pregnant. And so then in 2011, I ended up getting orders. I actually had got orders to Korea prior to this, but I got those orders at the time my daughter's mom was pregnant. So you can cancel your orders once, but if you cancel them, the next place they give you have to take them. And they may not even do this still because I'm not active duty on reserves now.
Yeah.
So I got orders, and then they were sending me to Ohio first. And I thought I didn't like Spokane. I got to Ohio, and I was like, what country is this, man? You got to understand, I was in Fairborn, so I wasn't in any like really cool place of Ohio. Like Cleveland's a lot better. Right. Cincinnati is more going to remind me of where I'm from. I was in Fairborn. We had Wright State University. I want to say Wright State or whatever school, and then you had certain areas you can hang out. So I was there for like 6 months, and I finagled my way to get back to Washington because my daughter was here. This is my first time being away from her. Yeah. So they end up sending me to Tacoma. So I was out of Joint Base Lewis McChord on the west side, which was even better because I'm like, I tried to get to Fairchild to go back to good old Spokane. Right? And they sent me to the west side. I said, oh, it's live. We live now. So the end of 2011, I end up going to Tacoma. And this is basically where everything, my last deployment is when I said I was going to stop playing basketball and start working on fitness. I was like 130 pounds, 38 pounds. I thought I was in great shape until I deployed. And the first time, and I saw what in shape looked like. Because, all you do is work out, and you're over there, these different Army cats and all that, and they buff dudes and stuff. So over there eating gunpowder and whatever. Not really, but so I was like, all right, I want to get into, because I always wanted to be in around the sports world, like basketball and stuff, but I didn't want to, I knew I wasn't going to play at this point. So I was like, I'm going to go into nutrition or something like that. But over there, I just used to buy all the men's health magazines. So every day, not every day, but like every month while I'm deployed, I'd go to the magazine spot we have over there, and I'd look for the latest workout magazine and the latest issue of Black Man magazine. I don't know if you remember Black Man magazine. I want to say it was all women though. It was called. You don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it was called Black Man magazine. But it was like the most beautiful Black and Hispanic models in the world. That was motivation for me to get in shape. I see these women, I'm like, they're not gonna date some scrawny dude like me. Yeah. So I would start building programs out of these things and putting them together and just trying to learn about stuff. And that's how I started getting into the fitness world. But it was bro lifts. Legs. You mean upper legs? That's all we worked, right? So it was bro lifts. So I started building programs. So by the time I got to Tacoma, I picked up CrossFit in 2009, and CrossFit like changed. I was like, I've never been in this much pain, and I've never felt like my chest was gonna rip out of my heart was gonna rip out of my chest. And CrossFit, so I drank the juice, man. I was bathing in it. I loved CrossFit. I still think CrossFit is awesome to this day. I just think there's just the influx of gyms dilutes the level of training. But I got into CrossFit, and I started doing CrossFit bad. And I had a few injuries from the Middle East. And when I was over there, my whole focus was I had this lifestyle I wanted to live. I had to get this condo in the city. I had to get this BMW. And I had to just stay fresh, right? Because I'm on the West Side now. Now it's diverse, the culture, it's different women. It's like, it's just so much to do. So that was my focus when I got there. I wanted to get this place, get this car, and whatever. And then when I started doing CrossFit, the injuries that I had in my knee, and my wrist, and my shoulder started bothering me. And it wasn't because of CrossFit. It was because CrossFit was having me do lifts that I didn't do before. And it exposed these injuries. So as I started doing that, I started being like, hey, like asking different coaches. Cause I was bouncing. I loved it. So I was a part of different gyms. I'd bounce to this gym, bounce to that gym. And I would ask coaches like, hey, what do I do to fix this? And they were like, oh, I'll just do this stretch. And I'm like, all right. You just listen because they know. But then one day I injured my knee. It was already bad, but it tweaked it. And I couldn't walk on it. And then they did an MRI on it. And I had a cyst under my kneecap. And I had already got surgery on a ganglion cyst in my wrist, and it came back. So they didn't want to go in my knee and get this cyst out. They told me it's better that I try to work around it because it'll only irritate me if it gets irritated. It'll only irritate me if it gets irritated, it'll infuse, and then it'll protrude outside of my kneecap. My tendons will catch on it. That was causing me to, like, it was crazy. So I was like, all right, cool. So they sent me to the doctor, and the doctor said, mind you, I got this MRI 4.5 years after I got the injury. I got the injury in 2008 in the Middle East. The military they didn't give me an MRI till 4.5 years later after I just kept complaining, which is insane. But so they told me to stop squatting. And CrossFit, there's squats every day, basically. Yeah. And I was like, that's not gonna happen. So then they just like, you can't. So I'm depressed because CrossFit's my thing. I'm doing CrossFit every day. So I started looking at the doctor. And I looked up like what his like schooling was and what he does and like what he's in charge of. And this dude's just making sure my joints and stuff are good. Like he just doesn't want broken bones. So I'm all right. Well, you don't specialize in squatting. Yeah. Because he was like, you don't have to squat to get big legs. And I looked at him like, what else am I supposed to do? Like surgery? Like so. Yeah. So I knew physical therapist where I was going to put me in place. So I was like, I'll ask the physical therapist. So I go to the physical therapist and she's, I'm doing physical therapy and she says, no, you can squat. Just never go to 90. And I'm like, what? So now I'm in CrossFit where everything is about hip crease below your knee crease, and you don't want me to go to 90 degrees. So I was like, man, I need to find somebody who specializes in, because she's in rehab. So now I'm like, who the heck do I go to figure out who's going to tell me about working out? And it wasn't that big at the time. Like exercise science wasn't even a degree at the time. And then you had kinesiology, which is the study of the human movement, but it's not into like an exercise. It's not into a sports, version of it. That's why they have kinesiology and exercise science now. So I was studying nutrition for 3 years. I don't know why, because I'm glad I got out of it because, And I ended up coming across, so I started being a unit fitness program manager for my unit, my squadron. And that put me in a place where I was working with this exercise physiologist, this doctorate of nutrition, and then it was me. And then we would be like, people would come and they get an injury, they go see them, put them through workouts, and I was like a trainer. And then we start working with and over there we have special ops guys over there, and they would come in and we'd be able to work with them, and then we'd go out to there's special ops over at McCord. So they have like an unlimited budget on their fitness stuff. So we go to the gym and you'd be like, what the heck? Rock climbing walls and all that. Yeah. So I started getting into it. I was looking for something about squats. So I started looking for research, just Googling squat. Came across this research. I want to say it was out of a professor out of Oklahoma State, and it was talking about how to overcome knee pain and this, that, and the other with squatting. At the time, I couldn't squat nothing because my knee was so bad. And I just started following this research. Like, I didn't even really understand the research a lot. So I would ask the exercise physiologist and the doctor, like, what does this word mean? And they would tell me. So I started building a program based off of that research for myself. And that's when I was like, why don't any of these CrossFit gyms, because that's all correct none of this stuff. Why, but then you got to think, a lot of the CrossFit owners and trainers, some of them may have degrees, but exercise science degrees and stuff, that wasn't, like I said, it wasn't big. So their degrees didn't even relate to CrossFit. They got the certifications and stuff. So I just started building my programs off this. And I went from not squatting at all to maxing way more than I ever did. So when I started building these programs, I knew, I was like, you know what, I can't find a gym. I'm going to open a gym. I'm going to open a gym. It's 2012. I'm like, I want to open a gym. And then the crazy thing about that is at that same time, 2 albums that came out right around that same time. Mac Miller's album, the I don't know, I can't think of the name of the red album cover about TV internet. I can't think of it. But Mac Miller's album came out and Crenshaw. So at the time I was a Nipsey fan, like he from LA. So I was like something new, Nipsey, Dom. I was more of a Dom Kennedy fan at the time.
Yeah, Dom Kennedy.
So, so I was, and of course like Jay-Z, I was a big Joe Budden fan when he was like really rapping and all that. So the Crenshaw album came out and I had heard about him charging $100. So I was like, this album can't be, it's free. Like it was free on that piff. Yeah. So I got the album, and then like that was the time that I saw Nipsey at like his rapping like took a big turn. Like it was still Nip, but it was just a lesson plan. Like it was kind of how I look at Jay-Z, how Jay-Z's telling you in his lyrics everything that he did or what to do, what moves to make. He was telling you how he was rocking Evisu back when we didn't even know what it was, and how he had Bathing Apes before Cassidy made him popular. Like Jay-Z always gave you like y'all are behind. Like this is what I'm, And so when Nip was talking about the brand and stuff, and then I started seeing interviews with him, that's how I was like, all right, when this dude is dedicating everything to his brand, nothing matters more than the brand. So that's when I was like, okay, that's when I fully started going in. I remember I told my boy, who's still my boy now. At the time, he was like he was higher ranking than me. He was in my chain of command, but he's still one of my close friends to this day. But I was telling him like, look, I'm getting out. I don't want to make rank no more. I even told a couple guys in my shop, I don't want to make rank because the rank I had could keep me in for a long time. So I didn't, I wasn't gonna get pushed out. So I'm gonna focus on my school. I'm not gonna do this nutrition thing. I'm gonna get this extra. I'm gonna go into, at the time I was like, I'm gonna go into kinesiology, but I started seeing exercise science degrees pop up. So I went to school I had to go to junior college first. So I went to Pierce and got my health and wellness AA. But those programs I started building were different than the other programs that we were doing because it was all based off of how you move. So I was putting together squats and deadlifts and all this, but how we moved had to be different. Like we couldn't do them the way we were seeing them doing. So I started building these programs, and I would work out with my homies in the morning at 5 a.m., bro lifts, squats. Then I'd go do CrossFit. At 5 a.m. I do bro lifts. 5 p.m. I did CrossFit at the base CrossFit gym with the base crew or whatever. And I just took the way they were squatting and I did it different. They were squatting like this. I'm focusing on this part moving. And I just kept doing that because I was like, if the knee is like that, that's only one joint. Yeah. So what about the ankle? What about the hip? What about the shoulder? So I start digging into it. So now I get my my AS from there, and I'm like, I'm gonna get out and go to Arizona State, and I'm gonna go because they had an exercise science. I knew I was gonna get a master's degree. And I knew if I was going to be this professional that I wanted to be in exercise science world, I needed to communicate with nutritionists and understand what they're talking about. I need to communicate with physical therapists, with psychologists. I need to communicate with them. I don't need to know their job, but when they talk to me, I need to understand where they're coming from. So I purposely got my bachelor's in health science because it was broad. It was breaking down all those entities of health. Yeah. So physical, emotional, spiritual, everything. Because with a health science degree, you can do stuff, but in my world, I wanted to master and exercise. So I knew I was gonna get a health science degree from Arizona State. And then I didn't know where I was gonna go for my master at the time. But at the time I became a flyer. So I couldn't do the Arizona State in person. I couldn't, that couldn't be an option no more. So I ended up transferring to their online school, and I just focused, man. I zoned in. I stopped worrying about studying to make rank. I did good at my job. People would tell me, "Oh, you're a fast burner. Nope." Because I realized I'm from LA, so I'm doing numbers. I'm listening to Nipsey talk numbers and all that. So I'm realizing if I make the next rank, I'm gonna work possibly another 2 hours a day. So I said, all right, what's the difference between this rank and this rank? I was like, $3,600 a year. I said, all right, if I'm working extra $2 hours a day, 10 days a week, 10 hours a week, times 4, that's extra 40 hours a month. Multiply that by 12. That's this many extra hours. Divide that into that 3,600. I said, that ain't worth 2 hours. Yeah. That math didn't do right. Like, no way. But they pushed that. It's like kind of like an institution. They institutionalized you. Like, you got to make the next rank. Yeah. But I had a condo downtown Tacoma, had a BMW. I was living lovely over there. I was hanging out in Bellevue all the time. I didn't need the rank. I was good with my money. Yeah. So I said, I'm gonna focus on school. So I focused all my attention on school. And then my goal was to retire and then open a gym. But I was like, I turned 30 and I was like, man, by the time I'm enlistment, I'm gonna be 31. By the time I'm done, I'll be 41. I was like, my goal is to train kids. A 41-year-old talking to kids I mean, you could be that guy.
Yeah.
You know, what's up, kids? You know, like that guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can be that guy, but I'm not going to be that guy.
No.
So I told my boy, I said, yo, I'm getting out, man.
Yeah.
He was like, what? I said, bro, I got to do this gym. I was putting the blueprint together, how I wanted the gym, how big I wanted it, what I wanted it, all that stuff. And he was like, you sure? Mind you, me and O and my boy Rob, Rob, and my boy Mac, we were working out every day for like 2 years together, 5 a.m. So they know the programs worked. They know the programs was dope. So it was like, my boy was like, yo, if you're going to do it, I think you're going to be successful. Yeah. And then one of my supervisors, Havens, he was like, I think, yeah, dude, if you do it, you know, I think you're going to be good. Yeah. And then other people was like, yo, you're making a mistake. Yeah. The Air Force is basically telling me, look, this is how much money you got to make to get what we're giving you. Yeah. Like with the benefits and all that. Yeah. And I was just like, at this time, I'm deep into Nip. Nip got more albums out. I'm like, I could do it from LA, man. Like, I came from nothing. So that's how I transitioned from the Air Force. But I never want to get rid of the Air Force because I promised my pops I'd retire. Because there was times in there that I wanted to quit. And I could have talked to him and told him, but I know my dad wanted me to retire from there. My mom wants me to, she's the one who wanted me to join the military. So that's why when I did it, I was like, my dad wanted me to play basketball, but my mom wanted me to, she was like, just join the military, you know, be a military man. And so that's how I transitioned from the Air Force to doing what I'm doing. I was already watching the most elite military guys train, you know, with the special ops dudes train and seeing them train and stuff. And then having this understanding of I had this injury, and I went from having this injury and not getting surgery or anything, but taking an injury that was minor. Yeah. And basically what I meant by minor was my knee was still intact. Everything was good. So now I just got to understand, why is it pain? Why is it what's causing that cyst to flare? And just don't do that. Like, go around it. So once I did that, I felt I was a scientist at that point. Like, whoa, I'm a doctor. Like, basically, like, right. So it's always been my goal to be a doctor. So I was like, even when one of the guys told me, if you get out of the, you better make rank. And I was like, nah, I can retire as a tech sergeant. And he was like, yeah, you should be a chief and this and that. He's like giving me a hard time. And I was like, look, man, you spend all your time dedicated to doing all this extra stuff so that you can make rank. And then when I retire tech sergeant, Dr. Northcutt, and you retire chief, I'll give you a job. Yeah. Like, I'll give you a job. Because you dedicate all your time to the military. I'm working on my civilian side. I'll give you a job because you're going to be looking for one. And that's actually one of the things that helped pushes me to be a tech sergeant, because I said a doctor, because I said I was going to do it. Yeah. And, but anyways, that's how I transitioned. So I molded my gym after I knew I wanted to catch it early. So I was like, if I can convince parents to let their little kids train with me, we can work on the movements. We can work on just the fundamentals. I call it groundwork. If you look at my Bricks Instagram page, I use the same 3 hashtags for everything. I'm not doing it to bring in people. I'm bringing it because I want people, when they see those words, those slogans, it associates with my gym. It's the Brick CL for my name. It's just show up and brick by brick. But I always put under every kid's thing groundwork. Because that's all it is, from the ground up. We're starting from the ground up. And that's how I got the name The Bricks, by the way, which I don't know if you was going to go into. Is my dad my dad told me when I was in high school I need to work out, right? Put this little rinky-dink, old school, this thin, you know, those old school, you see them in the LA music videos and stuff in the front yard, like this little thin pad, the little thin bar, you got the steel plates. He put that in my backyard because he had it in the garage, rusted up. And he would say, go out there and build yourself up. It's the bricks. And the thing is, he would tell me, like, in life, it's just take your time, man. It's one brick at a time. And you just one brick at a time. Next thing you know, you look back, you got a wall. So it's always brick by brick. And that's how training, especially when you're doing athletes, you have to get a good foundation, man. Because if you take a kid and you throw him in there to do these explosive movements, he has muscles and tendons that are compensating to make sure he do this, right? But these muscles and tendons, they're not supposed to be moving in that motor group. They're not motor group. They're not supposed to be moving in that pattern. So now you do that over time, eventually something's gonna happen. So the goal is to move that muscle, those tendons and everything, in a natural pattern and strengthen them. Once they learn to move, basic human movements, there's 7 motor groups, then you add resistance. And then you just continue to build. You don't do nothing different. If I'm building a wall and this wall stood 50 years, and I look on Instagram, they're doing a wall different, I'm like, this wall worked 50 years, but that wall looks cool. I built that wall falls down. It's like, you knew this worked. It's hard work. I get it. And then there's technology and there's different pieces of equipment that helps you build that wall faster and more efficient. So you just always keep that wall in mind, and then you just get stuff that helps you build that wall. Okay, now this made it easier for me. And that's how the system goes there. My gym I don't do nothing elaborate. I don't go get the newest thing because the other gym got it. I look at cool stuff and I'm like, that's dope. I don't need it.
Yeah.
And that's how, but that's how I transitioned from the military to
So to recap, you had an injury from deployment.
Yeah, I got injured.
You started doing your own research because really the doctors weren't giving you any real information.
Well, they didn't specialize in what I was trying to do. So you're like,
I'm going to figure this out myself, which led you to creating your own programs. You leading your other fellas that you're in the military with in workouts. And then you're like, man, I can just do this full time. It's
one of those things where it's like, everybody wants to, if you see something cool, see somebody making money, you're like, oh, that looks fun. I want to make money doing that.
Yeah. Right?
And then, so it wasn't like I saw gyms and I was like, I want to own a gym. I knew I always wanted to be involved in one. Yeah. But when I saw a void, that's when I said, I can do that. Because I saw all these gyms doing, if one person did a squat this way, no, it's fine because he does it. And he's not hurt.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, genetics is a wild thing, man. So I knew okay, if I can take this and create this type of environment in there, it'll be different. And I'll be able to, there's a certain crowd for me. It's not for everybody, but there is a certain crowd that can feel that can not feel that void, but that can benefit from what I'm filling that void with. So that's why I started doing okay, I'm gonna go open a gym. I'm gonna train athletes. And at the time I was like, I'm gonna do high school and college. I never wanted to do pros because I was like, I don't want to, pros typically go where other pros go.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, if I can start with some high school kids, send them to college.
Yeah.
And then if they play sports, cool. But if they come back and then they'll train in the summer, then they'll be pro one day, then I'll do that. But then when I start doing that, and it took years of me being open for me to even get a high school kid or any kid, because I didn't have a name in Spokane. Spokane's very...
So, yeah, but...
I jumped a big portion.
Yeah, so you were in Tacoma.
In Tacoma, yeah.
And you were developing this idea to quit the military and start your own gym.
Yeah, 100%.
You were doing it because you've seen... a void to be filled, which was to give people specialty training.
No, it was basically taking a research approach. I used to say science approach, but science is thrown around now like lit. Trainers use science-based for everything.
Yeah,
now.
They use it to really code.
It's to convince somebody that what I'm going to give you, not necessarily that they're smart, but that what I'm going to give you
feel like
is science, man.
Yeah, exactly.
It's science. Yeah. Hey, do it like that. You know why?
Yeah.
Science. No. Yeah. But that's so I don't like saying science based. I say research based because I have a file on my phone with hundreds of articles. Majority on the ankle, the knee, the hip. And the crazy thing is I'm starting to see research being used more now. Once you get into research, you have to be able to break down research to understand what research is credible. Where did the authors go to school? What was their criteria in their school? They got a doctorate without a dissertation?
Yeah.
They didn't take physics in any, they didn't take any of these classes and courses that allow you to take that research and understand how that research breaks down. That doesn't mean they're not getting this research and then asking somebody. Yeah. But that's going to be far and few. So that's why, if you notice, my doctorate is exercise science and research. I've been doing it. I'm going on my second semester in it. I've yet to do an exercise science course. All my courses so far is discovering research and breaking down which research is reliable and which is not. So they'll give me a topic on ethics in research. I'll have to write about it. And all 10 of my research, my articles that I use has to be, they all have to be credible. So when I turn it in, she'll go check the research and she's like, this does not work. Nope. And then, so you'll lose points for that. So this is basically a way for me to make sure the research is credible when I tell somebody this. So I might say, hey, the research says do this. And the research was just submitted by some guy. And another thing is there's if you're getting your research from like PubMed or like ResearchGate, anybody can submit to those. It's the scholarly libraries that you want access to, because now you're getting access to articles that would cost me $60 a piece or thousands of dollars for subscriptions. But when you're in school, the libraries allow you. So every time I go to school, like I'm in school now, whenever I think of an injury or one of my kids gets an injury or I hear of somebody, I'm immediately going and digging up every single research article I can and saving it to my files. Because once I'm done with school, I can't get access to that no more unless I'm making enough money to be able to afford that. But I have there's a really good guy that I look up to out of Miami. His name is Donnie Ramon. And he's LeBron James' trainer, Chris Paul's trainer, but he's a biomechanist, but he used to be a Navy SEAL. And whenever I need an article, I'll hit him up and he'll send it to me because he has a subscription.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's what I want to do. Not just science-based, but I want to do this research-based that I could help try to prevent injuries, lower the risk of getting injuries, and then still build resistance, because that's my goal.
So, but I guess what I'm trying to understand is like this initial process of your gym having this research-based programs, were they going to be custom per client?
Well, no.
Or were you thinking like...
So my original plan was I'm going to have like these groups of kids, right?
Okay.
Because you got to think, when I first put my plan together, I wasn't as far in my educational path as I am now. So my original goal was I'm going to have these groups of kids and I'm going to put them through the different trainings. And then all the trainers are going to have, like when I tell them, hey, do this movement, do that movement, it's going to be based off of how to move. But what I wasn't thinking about is, what about kids with compensations? What about kids that can't move that way? What about kids that their back doesn't bend? They have no mobility. What about this kid who tore his ACL and didn't go to proper rehab? What about this? So I didn't pick all that stuff up until after I started doing it. But originally it was just like, I'm gonna train a bunch of kids and I'm gonna make sure that all this stuff I have them do is gonna have research. That was it, right? It's simple. Just make sure you have a research article, build a program, put my cite my sources. Hey, these are my references. These, if you want to look it up, and cool. But then when I got here, so I decided I was gonna get out and do it. I knew I was gonna do it in Spokane because my daughter was here.
Okay.
And I spent 4 years seeing her once a month, if that, because sometimes I'd be on the road. And I felt like if I got out and made the decision to not move near my daughter, now that makes me a bad person. The military moved me, that's on them. I can't say nothing. But if I choose to, like, hey man, like, you got a responsibility. At the time, I was just, like I said, I was seeing my daughter once a month, and then I was just financially there. But a lot of me, she was missing out on. So, and I wanted her to have that. So I knew I was going back to Spokane. I didn't have any true expectation of what it was going to be like. So I thought it was still like Uno nights and stuff. So I was like, whatever, I'm going to go back. And so I saved up $10,000 and I got an apartment downtown, the Madison. It was popping. It was cool. Like I was walking and everything. Loved it.
Apartment there.
And I was there, and I got out here, and before I came, I hit up all these gym owners that I know. I'm not going to name them because none of them responded to me. And the ones that did were very short. Hey, man, I'm moving to town. I know you have a gym. I know it's a competitive field. I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm going down this path. I'm dealing with athletes. I'm going to do small groups of, adults and stuff. But don't worry about me trying to do this, that, and the other. Like, you got any advice on just the business side of things? I have no experience with business. Nobody in my family does. Read, no response, because I'm hitting them up on Facebook Messenger. So I see they read it. One person responded and was like, just work hard. It's like, all right, thanks, Tony the Tiger. Like, I get it. You're good. Like, I was like, all right, cool. So I said, but the dope thing is, my homie had opened a gym out here, GTX. And that's my boy CJ. He opened a gym, but he opened his gym the same way I was open. He went in blind. So everything he learned about business was off of mistakes, and it's just giving it. But he had a good group of people, clients that made sure when he made it through those bumps, right? So I came out here 2015 actually, and I got an apartment downtown. And this is back before downtown was too expensive to live in. And I hit CJ because I had $10,000. That's what I was going to get, rent, equipment, and everything. I don't know what I was thinking, but I quickly realized, like, dang, this is nowhere near enough. So CJ, I went to his gym and was chopping. He was like, hey man, you can train out of here if you want. Just pay me a little monthly. He had this little upstairs attic, and I was like, how much would you charge me to rent that? And he was like, $300 a month. I was like, bet.
Nice.
Bet. So I flipped it, spent my $10,000 on equipment, and I was training for about 2 months. And the Air Force said, hey, man, remember what you were saying you're going to get out? You're not. Snatched me back up a year and a half. Yeah, so.
They didn't let you out.
No, well, the thing is, I was transitioning to the reserves. And then the job I was doing required training.
Yeah.
And then they put me on these, so they put me through the training and sent me on missions. So for the next 16 months, I'm just traveling the world doing missions. But the thing is, I got enough time to get in CJ's gym to see the thing that he was doing wrong, that I felt he was doing wrong. Like, not like doing wrong, but like things that I would do different. Well, I'll say that. And then the things that I liked. So now the whole time I'm on the road, I wish I still had them. Somebody threw them away. I had all these hotel notepads of different layouts, different stuff, and I had a stack of them because I was like, I'm gonna do turf here, I'm gonna do this here. This is gonna be my logo. It was always gonna be the bricks. Like I had the bricks written. I taped off with stencils and painted over the bricks in his gym where I was training at. But I didn't have the logo yet. I have none of that. But I just knew I wanted to train these kids. But I knew I wasn't gonna get them right away because the parents. So I knew I had to find a way to do that. So this whole time, that's what I did. But this time, I'm putting money away because I was sitting at a bar in Spokane one time, like coming to visit. And it was just me. I want to say Fred. We're the only ones in there. Fred, like, hey, fam, we'll go down, right? So it's just us two. And I was talking to the owner, and I was like, how are you staying open? Nobody in here. He was like, well, yeah, I learned that whenever you open a business, your first year is a loss. So you set yourself up for an initial L, and you'll be fine. So I was like, I always remember that. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna save up my money. I'm going all over the world. I'm traveling. But the cool thing, I was still traveling. I get back from a mission. I travel to Italy, go hiking. I was doing all that. So I finally got here, and I put together this space, and I put cash up. I pay the lease for a year or 6 months, but the goal was a year. Yeah. And then I ended up getting paid for a year, and then I paid all my initial equipment, the stuff that I knew I needed that I wrote down, cash. So everything was cash. I paid my lease off. I paid my rent, my apartment for 6 months. And then now I knew every dollar I made was going in my pocket. But I was broke as a joke because I had like Fred, DJ Freaky Fred. That was my only client that walked in day one. So I put together this gym, and then it was a hassle. I got a few people in, a couple homies in, and I just treated them. I always had this thing where it was like, all I focus on is who focuses on me. So I knew if I put everything into them, they're going to tell a friend. People are going to see them doing stuff. Eventually, it's going to build, small, slow. But typically, when you build that way, it's like a natural type of thing. It's genuine, and those people tend to stick around because that helped me during the shutdowns. Because when I was shut down, I couldn't train. Some people who were still working would still pay me based off of the relationship. Yeah. So I just built it from there, and then I knew what I needed over time that I wanted, and I wasn't going to get it till I had the cash. And so I didn't take out no loans or no nothing. So my overhead there was bills. To this day, my overhead there, this is 5 years ago. So you got to think, real estate went up, rent went up. But I got a real cool owner over there. He went up a little bit, Yeah. But he knows that check. He knows that check's coming every first. Yeah. He knows when he goes to his building, it's clean, taken care of. He doesn't worry about like he's renting his space out. That's his income coming in. So to this day, right now, my overhead. Right now, with everything in my gym, I got over $100 and some thousand of equipment, has all been cash. There's no overhead on anything. Every month, all I do is check my bills. The light bill is no joke, but every month I check my bills, pay my bills, and then focus on what I'm whatever is next, et cetera. Yeah,
smart man,
100%.
So I want to dig more back into how you came up with the name. That was based upon basically your dad.
My pops.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's really cool, so, man.
You always, like people who don't have like this cool story about something, they want to make one up and stuff. Like it's you don't have to have a cool story. Like it can be, but that's basically
helps too, though.
It does. When I was figuring it out, that's what I went with. Yeah. That's what I went, because my dad, he had 3 kids, of course, but like my dad was like the dopest dude in the world to me. Yeah. Like, I thought so. Like I would just sit on the porch and talk to him when he wasn't smoking a cigarette. And, and it's not, the crazy thing is, like before he passed, I would go to LA and visit him. That's the main reason why I would go to LA. Yeah. Is to visit him. And we talk about the same thing every time, man. His advice never changed either. So if I go to him with a problem about me making a move in the military, he's a prior military guy as well. So he always talked about the military, Lakers, the Dodgers, the Raiders, and then where the heck have I been? Because I used to go to LA for a month at a time. And one day he was like, why do you keep coming here, man? Go, ain't nothing changing. Go see the world. And then when he said that, I stopped coming. I just come for like a weekend or a few days. Yeah. And then that's when I started like getting back to traveling the world. So when I go see him, we talk about the same thing every time, man. And his advice never changed. And he just basically be like, own up to what you did, whatever decision was made. And now what do you do? And I remember when I wasn't going to play basketball when I was a kid because they were trying to make me try out for the freshman team. And I was like, heck no, I got varsity handles, right? Yeah. So they was like, nah, you playing you gonna try out for the freshmen and sophomores. I was like, I ain't playing. I told my dad, I ain't playing. I quit. Yeah. And then next, he was like, okay, so now what you gonna do? Man, I don't know, we got to transfer. He's like, that ain't happening. So what you gonna do? He's like, I tell you, you have options. You can pick up another sport or you can go talk to that coach, own up to what you did and see what happens. So I went next day, talked to him, went on the court, made me try out for the freshman, sophomore team, made me play with freshmen. I killed the freshmen, put me up with sophomores. I was like, oh, I see how this works. I killed the sophomores, put me up to JV. See what I'm saying? So I took how he did and I used that. So I'll tell him a problem. And he was like, yo, you made the decision, right? And I remember one time I went there, the last conversation I had with him, because he would like I said, he called it the bricks, brick by brick. And it's just whatever it is, it might seem like it's a huge task. It might seem like it's a big project, but just one brick at a time. You're fine. Like take a breath, one brick at a time, and you'll get there. And that's everything, right? You're trying to build something.
Oh, for sure.
So the last time I talked to him, I remember I wasn't traveling. Because at this point, I'm starting to get some traction in the gym, 2019. I'm starting to get some traction in the gym. And, I'm starting to get some clients in there. I'm going, so I'm like, I ain't taking no breaks. I used to work. I worked 7 days a week for the first 4 years.
Yeah.
I worked 7 days a week for the first four years, right? Yeah, and then, I went to LA. He's like, where have you been? And I was like, man, I ain't been nowhere, man. I work too much, man. I'm doing this gym. Right? He's like, hey, you doing the gym you want to do? I was like, yeah. He's like, the gym that you said you put together and you drew the blueprint? I was like, yeah. He's like, the one you asked for. I said, yeah. He said, then shut up and stop complaining. Like, you asked for it. Stop complaining. And I was like, I'm not complaining, man. I'm just saying. But I was like, that's facts, right? Yeah. So a lot of the stuff I do, a lot of stuff I talk, comes from conversations with my dad. The way I treat people and how the empathy and all that comes from my mom. So my mom and my grandma. So it's like a decent blend. And I'm trying to make sure my daughter gets a little dose of that. But that's how that name came for. And I'm glad I named it that because now, my dad's gone. And there was some guilt behind that with me, like not going to see him when I could have. It's like, as long as I keep this gym going, I'll keep, what he gave me going. That caused me to, after my dad died, that's when I really went crazy. Because I was taking a 1 hour break in a day, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. with a 1 hour break. I was training, but I knew I needed equipment. I knew I wanted to buy a house. So I had to get my credit right. I knew I wanted a nice car. So I was just working 6 days a week. I was training, 7th day, completely cleaning the place. I worked 7 days a week. And then I had missions in between for the Air Force. So I was just, just going by that. But all I thought about was like, oh, just one brick at a time. It's cool. And then I just chopped off my credit. Okay, cool. Credit was good. All right, cool. Let me get a house and a coupe. That's what I wanted. And I got the house. I was all right, cool. I was gonna leave on that. Maybe I can cut back a couple hours. All right, cool. Because I'm a person that thinks you only need enough money to do everything you want to do. You don't need anything more than that. You need enough money to do everything you want to do and have fun doing it. Of course, you have responsibilities, but that money, you have that money for your responsibilities. Then you need enough money to do just stuff you want to do. Like, I don't need $1 billion. I'll take it, but I don't need $1 billion.
Yeah,
but I need enough to do everything I want to do. Yeah. And then, of course, have a safety net or something, right? So as I was checking off things on this goal list that I had, I kept carrying over every year. It made me, I can work a little less. All right, cool. And then when I got the house and the car, and I flipped the house, not flipped the house, but I renovated the house and got the car. And then I was like, okay, I need to get back to my education. The doctorate degree gonna take some time. I need to cut away from the gym. I got my everything in order, my finances in order. I'm making a decent amount. I know what my bills are. I've been paying them. Cool. So I condensed my schedule, took less income, rented the space out to one guy. I'm looking to rent it out to one more person. And now they train at the gym, doing their thing. So some of the money that I lost by stepping away, I'm getting back because I have this cool trainer. They're training his people.
And is it they're training like under the bricks or
no?
It's just the gym they rent out. Okay.
They're training under. They could train under the bricks, and if they wanted to train under the bricks, because I have plans for the future, then they'll go with me. But if they want to use it as a way to get their business going, how CJ did for me, but with more education, because now I'm coming in with going on 5 years. My anniversary is this weekend, so I'm coming on 5 years of experience of making mistakes and like, you know, coming back from them and still being able to continuously grow every single month. So now I'm able to give them this advice and stuff, and that's it's allowing them to understand you don't personally, you don't need your own gym. Mm-hmm. I get the allure of owning your own gym and the ego, what does for your ego.
But the overhead and all that.
If your goal is to train and make money, you don't want to own a gym.
No.
You want to either work for somebody that's paying you very well, or you want to be in a situation that I'm trying to put people in where you rent the space and I cover everything else but what you give, you know?
Yeah. See, that, and I run my businesses based upon other businesses that can give me I offer a service, but I don't need to own the production facility. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? No, like, I run my businesses very lean. Yeah. I keep my overhead very low. Yep. I offer certain services that I'm able to perform. Yep. And then I outsource for the production. Yeah. You know, like, why would I need to own all those things?
Social media.
Yeah.
It's an ego thing.
Right.
Like, we've pushed entrepreneurship and
like, you the middleman, like... yeah, I am.
What people need to do, man, and this is what I have to do every now and then too, because it's easy to get caught up in what the other people are doing.
Oh, for sure, man.
So what you have to do is sit back and remember what that goal is. Like, what is that overall goal, right? Yeah. And then, how do I get there? Yeah. Because what we don't understand is, as we're getting to that goal, we create so many detours just by doing what other people do instead of doing what we need to do. And we get caught up in social media. I could look at my gym and think, man, my gym is perfect. Everything I need. Then I go on social media, scroll. I'm like, what the heck is that thing? What is that? Yeah. And then you see all the comments. People are like, oh, I wish my gym had one of those. And I'm like... All right, let me put $5,000 on this. Dude, I spent $4,000 on a piece of equipment that I used once. $4,000. I gave it to a friend of mine that could use it for her daughter. Yeah. Because it literally was $4,000, dude. Yeah. I spent $5,000 on a piece of equipment that I could have got a cheaper one. But this one came with all the extra stuff. So I was like, I'm getting that one. $5,700. I could have got one for $2,000. For $2,000. Does everything that I needed to do. And you only learn that by making that. Well, of course. Somebody could tell you that. Yeah. But when it affects your pockets and you realize, dang, that's an expensive ornament, like you learn from that. So now I see trainers doing it all the time on Instagram. Like, oh, they got the new stuff. It's not beneficial. Like, it's cool. Like, if you have, this is my thing. If I have everything I need and I got money, right? And I just want to make it a little better. All right, I'm going to do that. I'll get it. Just, I'm not going to use it as much. It's not beneficial. Not that beneficial, but I'm going to get it. Just be cool. But when you're like it's like you having a mic that works, and you see Joe Rogan with this like bigger mic or whatever. I don't know what makes what makes a mic better. Yeah. But you're like, God, I wish I had that bigger mic next to my face for whatever reason. Pause, right? Yeah. Then you go get it. But your mic was perfectly fine, professional, everything. Yeah. And now you notice nothing changed. You didn't get more people in to do podcasts. Yeah. You didn't get more. And you're like, man, that's a $10,000 mic sitting there doing the same thing my $1,000 mic used to do. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's very easy to get caught up in that. But when you come from a hustling background, you start realizing, it's about money in. You want to bring in more than you're putting out. And when you come from that and you realize you can do it all with less, man, I don't want a huge gym. I want a small gym that's super efficient.
Yeah. Yeah, I think too, it's like, well, you have to have a real clear vision on how you define success to yourself. If you define success based upon what social media is telling you is success, then you're lost. Yeah. You're not going to really truly know what you really are after, and you're doing other things because that's what you're seeing, and that's propaganda essentially that you're eating up. Like, oh, I got to fit that bill, but that's not really who you are, and you're not really doing things for the true reason you even got into it, if you even got into it for real reasons, true reasons. You said it's been 5 years since it'll be 5 years
on this
Sunday. You started in 2017.
Because I came here in 15 originally.
Yeah.
But that wasn't official. Like I didn't even have the paperwork done to like legalize the name and stuff. 2017 was when that's when I moved back here and it was official.
Yeah.
So my 5 years this weekend.
I started city chapters officially in 2017. So it's funny that our journey is about the same as business owners.
They said if you make it to 5 years and you're still climbing, you're successful.
I'm just feel like I'm just now starting my business in a lot of ways. But you know what I mean? As far as the experience.
You were learning on the fly. So like in that process, you were learning like I remember when you spent that like 30K on the machine or something.
Oh, the embroidery machine. Yeah. That was one of the. That's where it goes to saying like I should have outsourced that.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like in that path, like if you're around in 5 years,
that was a big mistake.
And if you're around and you're still passionate about what you're doing, you're still making income off of it, etc. You're good, man, because you're doing what you love doing. You're making money. 5 years is a long time, man. Yeah. So the fact that you were able to think about it, you were able to spend. Granted, you able to get some of that money back, but like you were able to.
I lost money.
Yeah, but like you were able to make mistakes and bounce back. And I've made a lot of mistakes, but one thing that I'm so happy I did was I knew that going into my business, it wasn't about money because this is my passion. And when I say that, it was about making money. I wanted to make money. I wanted to do this for a living. Yeah. But it wasn't a dollar sign that I was looking for. Right. It was just like, I want to make enough money to do everything that I enjoyed doing when I was active duty. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to still do that while doing what I love. Because now, I mean, when I was active duty, bro, I was living life, man. It was so cool, right? But I just hated going to work every day. So I was like, how can I get this but doing something I love? And then, so I knew doing this, I just needed to get to a certain area, certain ballpark, and I was going to be good. But I knew in order to do that, I was going to have the right clients, like good people. But I was going to have to treat people like I'm their employee. Like they're not, I work for them. And a lot of trainers, like they get a lot of clients or they get a high-end client and they start to let that ego be like, nah, you're lucky to have me. No, like every client, I make sure every client that come to my gym know I appreciate them. Some of the kids, not so much. I talk a lot of trash, man. I talk a lot of trash, but I let the parents know, like, I appreciate, because there's a lot of gyms. Mm-hmm. So for you to bring your kids to me, like, I appreciate that. Because without these kids I'm training and these adults, I always keep some adults on in my, as clients, because a lot of the times when I'm training these kids, by the time I'm done, I'm screaming and yelling at them, I'm tired because I don't have the same approach as a lot of these trainers. It's not like, hey, good job, man. No, it's like, hey, man, that was all right. You can do better. Yeah. Like, let's go. Come on. Like, that's my approach. That's where I'm from. It's a different environment. Mm-hmm. So when, by the time I'm done training these kids, I'm tired. When I'm done training an adult, their goals are simple. I want to build muscle. I want to lose weight. Yeah. I want to, work on my butt, like stuff like that. Pause. Sorry, guys. But, stuff like that. It's true. But that's easy. Yeah. Like, that's really easy to help somebody achieve that. Well, as long as they're meeting you halfway and taking care of themselves outside. But when you're dealing with a high level athlete, right? A kid that can jump or a kid that's super fast, and you're trying to take them and make them even more explosive, more powerful, jump higher, run faster, while not putting them in a risk of injury. Mm-hmm. Now that's science, man. Now you got to know exactly how those joints move. And when you grab something this way, what does it do? Because a lot of people do curtsy lunges, right? And they're called curtsy, right? And I hate it because it puts your pelvic and your knee in such a bad place, but it helps women build their butt fast, right? So I get it because they feel it. But what they're not understanding is what is compensating to put you in this pattern that's not a normal pattern over time, continuously with a load. They're not thinking what's down the line. And when you're dealing with an athlete, you have to think, is what I'm doing now, what I'm making them do, affecting anything else? Yeah. If they're holding this bar this way and they're working their legs, what's it doing to their shoulders? What's it doing to their wrists? You have to think about this stuff. So when you take that approach, it's very boring, the training. And what does everybody want? They want excitement. That's why social media is so popping. So it takes a certain type of person to want to stick around and understand that repeating the same thing over and over is how you get better at something. But the people have stuck around, the results show for them all. Like, it's cool. And I don't ever fight to keep nobody in my gym. I don't have a problem with anybody that leaves because there's plenty of people, there's plenty of trainers. Yeah. But I appreciate the people that stick around so much, man. Like, I look at some people that have been there for 3.5 years. only one person, no, 3 people are going to cross over at the 5-year mark and have been there for all 5.
That's cool, man.
Only 3. It would have been more. Some stopped coming like last. They hit 4 and stuff. But it was a goal of mine to keep as many as I can for that 5 years. But they all left naturally. They wanted to do something else, or this kid wanted to train at this facility because it had whatever or this, and that's cool. But I want to say there's like 3 or 4 that from the jump still there. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's huge, man. Having that dedication,
Where are we at? Because I definitely want to make sure I touch on the nonprofit, because that's...
Yeah,
I'm going to give a little bit about it, but I don't want to...
Well, yeah, and for me too, like, names for brands are huge, obviously. Like, I think a lot of people... especially nowadays, they're like, oh, I just want to do some. They just come up with some name and put it out there, and getting going is a big part, but, like the brand name City Chapters, like that brand, the strength of that name is versatile for me to go wherever I want to go with it, and the Bricks has that same thing, and it's just strong. Yeah. The Bricks, like, it just sounds like a strong gym name,
like that was
but then
a
it's
good
beyond.
Choice.
It is. It's perfect, dude.
It hit right off the top.
It's just badass.
Like, it hit off the top, and then I added the conditioning lab because I wanted to. At the time when I came up with the conditioning lab, you didn't see lab as much as you do now. You see the word lab in people's gym. There was a gym here called the Lab back in the day, but I didn't know about it till after I created my name. But you see people, because like I said, people like to use the word science, so you think lab, you see lab a lot now. But this is just an entity of my overall goal, man. Yeah, I'm not gonna touch too much on that overall goal, but it's the Bricks Health and Performance Center, period. And it's gonna be cool. It's gonna happen. I was telling a friend the other day, I was like, man, I hope I can make this happen. She was like, dude, stop. Like, if there's anybody like.
It is happening.
Like, tunnel vision. I know you're, so
it is happening.
But the Bricks, but like I was telling you earlier, I don't think that's what I'm going to be remembered for, and that's what I think is my nonprofit. That's the thing that's gonna that when I moved with my dad, right? Like I said, I go to my dad advice and all that, but I was still there was this place around the corner from my house. It's called A Place Called Home. That's the name, A Place Called Home, and you would go there. And they let you play in sports teams, so you can play basketball and you don't pay nothing. You play for the basketball team, you try out, you make it, you go play in tournaments and leagues. You want to play flag football, you try out for the team, you go make it, play in the leagues. Every sport, they pay for it. You didn't pay for nothing, right? They pay for everything. Then on Fridays, they have pizza night, right? So you go watch a movie and eat pizza. Then you had to do certain stuff to be able to qualify. Like, you make sure you did your homework or did that stuff. Like, cool. They had computers. They had a computer lab. They had a boxing ring. They had punching bags. They had all that. They would bring people from the community in there to talk to us about stuff. But A Place Called Home. But they had a gaming area, video games, foosball, all that stuff. But as soon as school get out, I'm dropping my bags off and I'm meeting the homies at A Place Called Home. Yeah, that's where the girls was going.
Sounds like a cool
that's
place.
Going. A Place Called Home, right? Yeah. Right in the hood. Yeah. Right? And I don't think a lot of us at the time understood how much that was changing us, because it was gated, right? So once you're on the other side of those gates, big, tall gate barbed wire, once you're on the other side of those fence, you were good, because the people in there were from where we from, and they was older, and they was making sure people who didn't belong didn't come in there. And it was just so much fun, man. We would go there, and I remember I met so many, like, all my close friends from the East Side, where I'm from, that I still talk to now. I met them through either A Place Called Home or Trinity Park. Those are the 2 places that we frequented a lot. But that center had such a big impact on me, because it's the amount of time I've spent there growing up. I stopped going like in the heights, like junior year maybe, because I was just focused on basketball, but the amount of time I spent there from middle school to I'm like, where would that time have been? Like, what would I have been doing with that time had I not been involved in The Place Called Home, man? Like, it was just, all it was a bunch of blacks and black and Mexican kids, and then the staff was black and Mexican. The summer staff was white, but that's all we like. So I always wanted to give my version of that and take it to a next level. And that's what I think I remember for. And there was no better word. You know the background for the bricks, and I was just then the bricks for kids. And I mean, I got the cheesy slogan, like, you know how you got to have like a slogan that's like, when you say it, you're like, that's cheesy. And then you think about it, like, oh, but it works. I got the bricks for kids, the cheesy, this is the slogan, right? Bricks for kids. And I want you to make sure you get this too. I want you to, bricks for kids, giving kids the tools to build a better future. Bricks build. See how that's like, man, it's got a little corn, but it's like, hey, it hits. Yeah. It's like, it's like when somebody tells you to do something, you're like, man, that's corny. And you try, you're like, that's kind of fun. Yeah. But like, no, but that's what I've been working on. That's what, because I made one of my resolutions this year was to not spend any money on my gym. Because I do every year. Not spend any money on my gym, to focus on my investment in my house. So getting it ready to be a rental property, and then focus on my education, which I'm doing. Get back to traveling, which I've been doing. Oh yeah. And then the nonprofit going. I'm trying to go into 2023. It's a big year. It's my first full year of like that second chapter after the 5 years. And to take things towards the next level. So with having a trainer, and I'm about to bring back groups for adults, I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to have a trainer running it. I don't want nothing to do with, small groups. I want to focus my time on, like, somebody has an injury. Yeah. And they come from physical therapy, like working with them, working with athletes and stuff. But I'm bringing back groups because there's just, I think my group workouts used to be really cool. But my main focus now is my nonprofit, and I'm dealing with the legal paperwork now. But it's basically going to be like an after school program. I just drop your kids off. I don't care if you're, I don't care. It's for less fortunate kids, right? Yeah. And that word less fortunate, when you hear that kid's less fortunate, mostly you're thinking.
Minority, black kid.
But what about them that's making them less fortunate? Poor, typically lack of money, right? And that's typically what we think of less fortunate. But I grew up with lack of money. Yeah. But I look back on my childhood, I had an awesome life. So I might have been less fortunate financially. Yeah. But I loved my childhood. I didn't know I was poor until I went to high school. Like, that's when I really knew I was poor, when I found out what a pantry was. I didn't know what a pantry was. We had a closet full of cookies. Like, what the? Like, what? Yeah. I didn't know that until high school. So that's when I realized I was poor. But what I less fortunate, there's not poor kids shooting up schools. Like, there's kids that are going to that have parents with money that don't have a healthy home.
Oh, for sure.
You see what I'm saying? Like, less fortunate does not mean financial. Less fortunate is like you're missing some aspect of a child's like happy life, right? Yeah. So I don't want it to be like, oh, only poor kids can come to my. No. I want the Bricks for Kids, this after school program, to be for kids. Yeah, it's period. Yeah. I don't want to sit here and run your parents' credit score and like their income. Oh, yeah, like, if you're a kid that wants to get better at something, that wants to learn something, come. Yeah. Because what it does is it's going to start blending different kids from different groups and letting them see that you're not that different. Mm-hmm. You're not different. That, bro. So that's the goal. And the goal is going to be to find, like I told you how I played basketball, I played football. The goal is going to be financing these tournaments and paying for kids to go play here and play there. And that's
in the future, we'll definitely be working together on things like that, man, because that's a major goal of city chapters, to have, like a facility like Vector 90 or, out of LA. Is dope. That's dope. Yep. Things of that nature, where we're like really giving these kids opportunities to get real education, like real education about life and about how to learn and critically think about environments and situations they find themselves in, how to react and with positive emotions, instead of whatever they're being downloaded with at their home, if it's a negative 100%. Environment, so there's
so much talent out there, man.
There is,
but they're just not exposed to this stuff. Like, it's like,
well, they don't have people speak to them like we speak.
No, that's what I'm saying. They're not exposed to it. So now you get a kid that, like I said, who on the outside looking in has this awesome life, right? This kid has every bike you can think of. This kid has all this money. He may be missing something, or she may be missing something. Now they come to this place and they hang out with other kids and they're getting to know other kids and they're seeing different stuff. And now these kids are like, oh shoot, like they're taking something. You're just trying to build better people, man. Like you're just trying to give people at least the option to be a better person. And one of the things like you were talking about Vector 90 and how, because they push ownership and entrepreneurship a lot. Like that's the big push, right? Mm-hmm. But I was just telling my little bro, like, if you're a wolf, like as in you're somebody that go get it, now is the time, because everybody is trying to be an entrepreneur and an owner. But if you have ownership of what you do and your product of who you are and how you can go make money, it's going to take hard work. But if you think being an owner is easy, it's hard work. It's just a different form. So there's jobs out here offering $25, $30 an hour. I'm like, if I'm 20 years old, I'm like, I'm getting a job.
Yeah.
I'm putting in extra hours, and then whatever it is that I want to do to be this owner, I'm just stacking. But I'm putting myself in a better position than I did when I became an owner. Because think about if you started city chapters or if you started the podcast and all that, and you had 100K in a bank just chilling. Like think about like if you had 100K that's not belonging to bills right now, you could dedicate more time to a podcast and just do because you're like, oh, I don't need to go do this. That. I'm not saying you can't now, but I'm just saying like it just gives you this leeway. There's always going to be this work phase of life. So if that's why one of the things I want to push through this nonprofit is STEM. I learned about STEM later on in life. I thought science, math was stupid, technology, I thought engineering, I thought that was stupid. But if you teach these kids early, I taught my daughter about science and math early. And now she brags to me when she gets A's in math and science, because she knows I'm going to be proud of her. But if you get a degree in biology and you decide, I want to be a trainer, you can take that biology degree and transfer it to and get a master's in exercise science. They're not going to say, hey, you got a biology degree, but we need you to take an extra class. No. You've taken physics. You've taken algebra 2s. You've taken all of that stuff, the biology, the chemistry. You've taken those classes. So now you're sending these kids to school getting degrees that unless they have a direct path that they want to take, but now you're sending these kids with an interest in a degree that can take them far. Now they're not getting a communications degree, $45,000 student loan, and they're working at the hospital. They're working at so I want to push STEM, at least give them the opportunity to learn about STEM, and I want the computers and I want all that. But that's the overall goal, is just to provide that opportunity.
When you say STEM, what is that? Science,
technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Okay. Yeah.
So basically it's just a degree. If I took my health science degree and I said, I think I want to go to medical school, or I think I want to do this, they're going to tell me my degree did not transfer over. They're going to take my degree and the credits that I achieved, and they're going to say, hey, we need you to take these classes, these classes, and these classes. I know this because I applied for a minute, I wanted to be a physical therapist just because I had the money for school and had my master's. And I was applying at USC's. They have this hybrid DPT program. And they were saying, you can be accepted conditionally, but we need you to take physics 2. We need you to take another statistics class. And I was like, I love physics, man, but I'm not taking physics 2. Like, I'm not doing that. But if I would have got, if my master's or my bachelor degree was in a better field, if I had a master's in biology or a bachelor's in biology, they wouldn't have said, hey, we need you. They would have just took it. The reason why I say STEM is, for one, especially for women, because they're not in that field. That's why I made sure my daughter just learned about it to have that option. But for one, it's a degree that you're not blowing your money on. Because you can take a science, math, engineering, you can take any of those degrees and anybody's going to accept one.
Yeah.
But you're not ending up with this. You're not wasting your time. It opens your mind to bigger things. And all the people who are making all the money, if money is your focus, most of them are in that realm somewhere. Math degree and they're an accountant, biology degree and they're a doctor. Technology degree and they're running a tech firm.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying? Like, all the big money, a lot of those people are coming from those backgrounds. So it's like, if you know that that's the way it is, and I know for a fact that there's programs for like women, because there's a lack of women in those fields, I'm going to put my daughter in position that if she wants to do it, she can do it. So that's why I push it on her. And I just want to open that up to kids to see that science and math it doesn't have to be torture, which is what we all think it is. It's actually really cool. So
yeah, I mean, you're inspiring me right now, man. Yeah.
That's
for real though. For real, bro.
Even my job, movement. That's so much science in movement, man. If biomechanics degrees were around when I was getting my bachelor's, I would have just got a bachelor's in biomechanics.
Yeah.
It's movement it's crazy when you look at how joints correlate with each other during movement. And then you start realizing, oh my God, why am I lifting weights like this?
Yeah.
Like, why is your shoulder sore on chest day?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about sore like you worked it, but like you feel that pain. Like, why do you feel the pain on chest day?
Yeah.
You might want to rethink the way you're doing your chest workouts. So that's why that's one of the big goals of the big goal. The overall goal is to get kids a place to go and just like do something and express themselves.
You have like a timeline for when your hope. Just in the beginning,
the paperwork is taking.
It takes a long time for
it's at the state right now. So I just wanted to, before I start throwing the names out publicly, I want to make sure that name is
laying
locked
the foundation.
In. So now that the name is locked in, nobody can go steal it and call their gym Move for Kids. You know, like, dang, that's actually not bad. If I was Move Fitness, that's actually not a bad move. But anyways, I wanted to make sure the name was locked in before. But Bricks for Kids, man. And there's no timeline. If it was up to me, it would have been started. But I knew when I started my gym. This is another thing I took from Nip is Nip focused on his rap, right?
Yeah.
He had other avenues he could make money, but once his rap was solidified and he knew that was good, then he started branching off. And a lot of people want to have this thing about them where they're like, man, I got a business here, and I got stocks, I got real estate, I got this. That's cool, but none of them are bringing in big money. You just got your hand everywhere.
I'm glad you think that way.
That's the thing. If I have my hand everywhere, how am I mastering
You can't
anything?
master one thing first.
How am I mastering anything if my hands are everywhere? So I knew in order for me to even have a voice, I was going to have to master this training thing, man. Now, when I talk to somebody, they're like, nah, I know this dude. He did this, that, and the other. So now they're taking my advice on that. But then when they introduce me to somebody that may do business, and this guy want to talk business, I'm like, hey man, this is what I want to do. And he sees that I mastered one thing that he or she knows is that I'm capable of becoming a master of something. Yeah. So if I say I'm gonna do it, I may not, but there's probable chance that I'm gonna do it. Yeah. So I'm not saying I mastered strength conditioning because it's preventive maintenance. Preventive health. It's forever changing. But I got a good grasp on it, and I'm continuing to learn. And I got my business to a position that it exceeded my original goal, which was to be able to do what I love doing and afford to live the life I'm living. I lived over there. I live a better life now. I'm able to help more people. I'm able to be like a shoulder or a backbone for my family. They hit me up. I don't talk to them all the time, but they know if they call me and they need it. I don't even ask them. I can send it. Like, that's a beautiful feeling. And I'm able to, my daughter, whatever she needs, and even some stuff she doesn't need. She doesn't have the swag of LA. She's getting there. Yeah. But I was like, I'm gonna get you those shoes. She's like, I don't need shoes. I'm like, yes, you do. Yeah, you do. So but I've exceeded my original goal. So now I can take a step back. I can get back to traveling. I can get back to, and I can focus on the nonprofit. And now I can dedicate everything to that like I did to my gym. So that's basically what the timeline was. It was just waiting for me to get to a certain position in my gym. And once I got there, now that I'm there, now I can put focus. Because like I said, I didn't master being a gym owner or being a strength and conditioning coach. But I got to a level where all I need to do is just keep learning, and I'm there. Like, and I have a really good foundation of it. So now it's like, all right, let's put that effort into this nonprofit. Yeah. So I see it I see it at least making moves this year. But I told myself I wasn't going to spend the money on my gym this year, even though I was actively looking for a second location to do it. And everything fell through, which is for a reason, because I don't push anything. Yeah. So if I go look at a building and they say this, that, and the other, and it doesn't work out, I don't fight for it. I say, okay, cool. Yeah. Because it's got, like, everything that's gotten me here has been natural. It's all been natural. Like, it just, I meet people accidentally. I do this just because I
was it accidentally though?
No. What I mean by accidentally, I know what you mean. But I don't think
I know what you mean. Though.
I honestly think if you always have good intentions with everything you do, you're never maliciously trying to put anybody in a bad position. Yeah. You are going to fall. You're on the right path, man. You are going to fall into place. Everything you want. The thing is it doesn't come easy. So just because you're on the right path, that does not mean that you're gonna.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But what we tend to do is like when we. So if I told you, hey, I need you to go to Northtown Mall, and you know the Northtown Mall is straight down Division, right? And you're going down Division, and Division is shut down, right? It's shut down. Or there's a train. It says shut down. Division's closed. You could be like, man, what the heck? I was trying to go to Northtown Mall. You know there's a detour, right? You can sit there and complain about Division being shut down, or you can just say, okay, I got to take another route. Now that route's going to take me longer, but let me just stay on path. So I'm going to go around. But along that route, there's more detours. But you have to always keep that main goal in mind. So when you hit that detour, because we make mistakes, that's a detour. You bought a $30,000 sewing machine, right? That's embroidery a detour. Machine, yeah. And sewing embroidery, church it up, right? You bought a $30,000 sewing machine, right?
Yeah.
That was a detour. You could have because if you didn't buy it, you could have put that money elsewhere and kept doing what you're doing and gotten to where you are now faster. But look at, during that detour, you saw some beautiful views. There's a restaurant over here, et cetera, et cetera.
Badass stuff with it.
But
for like, Joe's talking about, I bought this embroidery machine because I was trying to get into making some high-end jackets. And I thought it would be good for me to be hands-on with it. But it ends up that it takes a lot of work to run an embroidery machine. And after some time, it was taking up so much time for me to create like one jacket to learn all of this. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this and these other aspects of the business, design work, run this embroidery machine, having no employees. So it was a major mistake where I could have put, that 20 or 30 grand, whatever, into something else, into more like samples that I could have had produced by others. And for me, the biggest lesson there was just like, I want to learn, I want to build my businesses to allow me to have the most freedom. And having an embroidery machine where you have to sit there and baby this thing for an hour while it makes a jacket is not what is going to allow me to have freedom to move about. And even if I had employees, like I still got to manage them. I got to manage the maintenance of the machine and all that. Well, why would I do that when there's other businesses that specialize in producing garments and I can just outsource to them? 100%. So I went back to that and sold that embroidery machine for a loss to another homie that actually runs a screen printing business. And so, but that detour,
the way you learn,
I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known if I didn't take that detour.
I still got the polo shirt. I've never wore one. Remember you were like, you were just getting started and you was like, hey man, I'll give you a credit, because they were like kind of, I still got them. I still got them.
That's
I'm
right. I did forget about it. I'm gonna keep them
just in case you get too big. I'm like, Bobby, don't forget, look at this. you gotta pull it on both sides to get it. They're hanging up in my closet. Right.
That's great.
I've literally never wore one of them. I was just like, man, I talked to him. I was like, look, I just donated to him because he's trying to get it. I never even, you was like, how are you? I was like, they cool. I just put them on. Man. Every time I put them on, it wrinkles up on my chest like that. I still got
logo
them.
didn't work
hold
out.
On, just in case like you ever, I'm like, Bobby, don't forget, never forget. But yeah. No, but 100%. But that's what I'm just saying. Like, if you get a detour, which I've hit along the way, you just all right, take the next fastest route, but just don't sit and complain. Like, everybody has to stop on Division.
Well, and I was talking about this on the other podcast too, about like how when you stay calm when things aren't going your way, and you learn that like, all right, I just got to go this other way right now, and not fight against it. that detour is going to go a lot smoother. Like say you're going up division, you hit a detour and you're now feeling like you're running late, and then you get pissed and you driving like an asshole, irritating everybody else, and you crash, whatever happens, you know what I'm saying? Like, 100%. But if you stay calm with the detour and like understand like, oh no, that's just what it is right now, and I got to go this way, and you ain't going to fight against it, you're going to get to that place probably in this almost near the same time you would have if the detour wasn't there, you know? Man. It's like people like get 100%. On the freeway now here and they trying to get off at the next exit because it's traffic. It's traffic, but if you just would have stayed on the freeway instead of going those alternate
I'm
routes.
I look at the freeway driving by me, I'm like,
you're like, damn, I should have stayed on the freeway, bro. Yeah, it's like so
happens all the time, man. Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. It's like how successful you are. What I'm learning in business is just how much stress can you overcome. Like, because stress is going to be there. Like, is your breaking point further along? I mean, can you handle more stress? Like, is your breaking point shorter than the next man, this successful person? Because typically when we see successful people, we see the success, and we don't see their like that grind that they put in. Yeah. But when you like dig through, because I took out a student loan my first year at the bricks. I was broke, and I was bringing in like $900 a month, and I had this was like after I paid when all that went up, because I paid in advance for stuff, but I had to take out a student loan because I was bringing in like $900 to like probably like $900 to $1,500 a month, and that's total. And then I had to pay the rent, the bills, my apartment, all that. And then I moved my mom here. I moved my nephew here, so I'm in a 2-bedroom apartment. My mom and my nephew living there. And I'm going through trying to build this business. I'm flying missions. I got all this going on, and I'm broke. But I can't. If I could take missions every month for 2 weeks, I'd be good. But I can't. I got to take missions sporadically to stay current. So I was like, I'm in school. I'm taking a student loan. And, handle what I had to handle. And the reason why I did that, and started paying it back. But the reason why I did that is because I believed in it. So I knew if I took that student loan off and I was paying it off, I wouldn't be paying towards just something stupid. Like, I'm not paying towards a degree in basket weaving. I'm paying towards like, this helped me get my brand started. Like, it's like a loan, but I knew it was going to be a low interest payback. So I took that student loan out, paid in advance like I did the prior year. And then I was able to, all right, cool, keep moving. And then went from there. So
yeah, you got to take those risks though.
I got to go soon too though.
Yeah. All right, well, let's just, I mean, we'll have to have you on a continuation of this chapter sometime, man, because we got a lot we could still talk about. I would like to talk more about like the struggles of business too. And, we
probably should have went there like an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, but we can get there, man. We'll get there another time because you're obviously going to be starting this nonprofit. So definitely. We'll have you back on once that's up more and running and you got things going on there. Yeah. And then we can talk more about some of the challenges of business. But, we'll wrap it up. A few more things I want to talk to you about is you've traveled quite a bit, and you have a goal to see the 7 wonders. Yeah, and you just recently, like just not that long ago, you were in Egypt, and then like a few weeks later, you were in Peru.
About a month. So I told you I had these goals, right? So I had these 5 goals when I got out to. I've always traveled. People used to think I worked for the CIA or something because I don't ever like go on social media and post my passport and be like, countdown to this place. I just pop up. Like nobody needs to know. I'm not going there for you. I share pictures to share my journey with people and like, but if you notice, my social media has been private since forever. So I just made it, just took it off of the private mode. But like when I travel, I'm traveling because there's stuff that I become engulfed. Like it engulfs me. Like I was learning about the rainforest. And I was like, man, the rainforest is weird. Like this is wild what goes on in the rainforest. And I was like, why don't anybody visit the rainforest during the wet season? It's only 2 seasons, right? So I was like, what's the closest rainforest? And it was Costa Rica. So I booked a ticket the next week to Costa Rica because it was in the middle of the wet season. So I found one person that would take me on a hike during the wet season. And he'd take me and we're hiking in water up to your knees and out in and I was like, this is such a dope experience, right? Like I just did it. So when I was that's how I used to travel. Like I would just become like, I became fascinated with the hiking dangerous hikes. At the same time, I was studying the terracottas, the warriors. So I was like, oh shoot, like one of the world's most dangerous hikes is in Mount Hua, right out of Xi'an. Well, and Xi'an is the tomb of the terracotta warriors. So I was like, I just kept reading all the documentaries and I went saw the tomb of the terracottas, and then I went and hiked the plank walk to heaven. One trip, and then I went and I knew I wanted to see the Great Wall, but I wanted to go to a part of it that was still like no tourists. So I paid this kid. This kid took me and dropped me off. I didn't know that's how it was going to work. He just dropped me off. And then so I'm like, what the? So I'm just walking. I'm in this village that leads to it. You go up this back gate. There's no admission. There's no nothing. You're on the wall. And then you just walk towards where. So 3 hours later in Chuck's, I get to where everybody's at. But so I'm doing all this traveling. When I got out, I knew I wanted to buy a house. I knew I wanted a coupe because I had my SUV. I knew I wanted to get my finances in order. And I wanted to take my business to a certain level, and I wanted to see the 7 wonders because I had started with the Great Wall. And every year I start working towards one of them. And the first was the house, but I didn't know the steps to take. So I just kept pushing those 5 resolutions over every year. And last year I finally got the house and the car, got my finances in order, and my business was getting to where I wanted it. So I was like, going into this year, I got to knock that traveling out. So this was December. I just went online. I booked the trip to Egypt. I booked the trip to Peru, and I booked another trip. I'm not gonna say where it's to though. I booked another trip, then I canceled it though. But I'm gonna go. But so that knocked off. I had already did
Great Wall.
I did the Great Wall. I did Chichen Itza, and now so I did of course Machu Picchu, and then I did the Great Pyramid of Giza. So now I just got Petra, the Colosseum, and Christ the Redeemer. So I'm knocking off one of those here this year. And if people who follow me will know.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't matter. Like I don't either. But I'm knocking off for sure one of those again this year. I'm gonna try to do 2 within the same time frame, and then just save the last to just like I don't know, celebrate like that.
Yeah.
But whatever. That's the goal. Man. Yeah.
What out of those wonders you've seen so far, which one was the most amazing to you?
It's like
is it hard to choose?
The reason why is because they all have different
things,
things about them. Like when you're at the most, like the one that gave me the most chills was the Great Pyramid.
Yeah,
you're like, I've been studying the Great Pyramid for Egyptian culture, for ancient Egypt for so long. And then I was trying to go back in like 2014, but the terror level was pretty high there. So the military wouldn't let me go because of active duty. So when I got there and standing there and just looking up like, what the
how
fuck?
Big
it's
it is.
Insane, man. And then some of the stuff I got to do while I was there was just, it was insane. So that feeling of being there was crazy. The Great Wall was cool. I probably put that on all of the one I've done so far, like towards the bottom, just because China was, I didn't have that. It was great to be there, and it was like, this is crazy. But I was ready to get out of China while I was there. And then, but I'll tell you this: being in Machu Picchu and being as tired as you are, because I hiked up to the top to see, Machu Picchu was the mountain. That's why those are the ruins of Machu Picchu. But the mountain is actually called Machu Picchu. So there's this trail where you can hike in through the Sun Gate. Then you hike down to the top of there's an entrance to get to the ruins. Then you go through the ruins, you see them, and then there's another entrance to hike up the mountain. So I hiked every day I was in Peru, and you're on mountains that are 14K feet. So you got to think about it. The city of Cusco is 3,600 meters. So that's twice Denver. That's in the city. You roll over and you're catching your breath. So as I'm hiking, you're dying, man. Like, I don't care how athletic or how in shape you are out of breath. So as you're sitting there looking down on the ruins and you're like out of breath, you're like, how the heck did they build this, man? How did they do this? And it's just remarkable because they were in such a good location. They vacated, from what I learned, they vacated the ruin. Well, it wasn't ruin at the time, but they vacated because they thought they were going to be conquered because they had conquered the areas down. But they were so hidden. Nobody even found the ruins for hundreds of years.
A long time.
I think they found it. I don't want to quote nothing and then be wrong.
But I know what you're saying because I've researched
they discovered it not all that long ago.
No.
But and everything still works. It was raining. Of course, it's a rain. And you see the channels in the water. You're like, how did they?
And then how it's cut.
Everything
is so perfect. Yeah.
You know, I have my theories.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, but it is insane.
We could get into that on the next one
so
too.
As
man.
I'm sitting there, as I'm in, and I want people to understand, I'm a very educated dumb person. Like when I say that, it's like I say some dumb stuff because I think I know it, and I look it up and be like, that was stupid.
Yeah.
So you gotta take that into account when I
yeah.
say this stuff. So fact check anything I say, and if I'm wrong, that's fine. That's how you learn. But it is really cool. Like being there and being tired. I remember hiking up and they were trying to put a temple at the top and they stopped in the middle of it. But as you're climbing up, it's so steep and you're going up and you're looking, you're like, how the heck they do this?
Yeah.
This little bitty peak. How they get rocks up here? Like
it's crazy.
Yeah. It's almost as if somebody dropped a rock down.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, you know, that's my
yeah,
it's insane. But no, so I would say Machu Picchu was the most like
harmonic technology.
When I saw the Great Pyramid, I couldn't stop smiling. Like I just couldn't stop. I'm here.
Yeah.
But when I saw Machu Picchu, it was like, wow, man.
Like what
in the world? Like, that's what I got. So I'm pretty sure, you know, the other three, well, at least two of the other three, I'm gonna get a really cool feeling because I've been every wonder I've been doing the documentaries and reading on them for years.
Yeah.
So it's when you read and see videos and all this stuff and then finally be there, it's this weird feeling. So I'm pretty sure they'll all be the same. I'm not too sure about the last one, but you know, the other two would be pretty cool too. But
oh man,
yeah, it's hard to like put them in a hierarchy.
Yeah, categorize them or like hierarchy. But I still like, you know, just curious, like which ones kind of
put it like this. I don't say I'm going back somewhere often. I'm going back to Egypt. Yeah, there's a big portion of Egypt I didn't see. I also forgot to take my daughter's monkey with me. And that bothers me because the monkey has been everywhere I've ever been since my daughter got the monkey. So I got to go back. But what I'm going to do is when I go back, I'm going to take her. Yeah. And then, because I take the monkey because she couldn't travel with me. And she gave me the monkey to take. So I took it just as like, okay, I'll take it with me. And then it just traveled with me. And this was when she was like 2, 3. So she's 12 now. And it's gone every country. I have pictures of that monkey in Germany. I have pictures of that monkey in you name it. That monkey's been everywhere. So I left it on my couch when I went to Egypt. And so I don't have a picture. I have a picture of every other wonder with the monkey, except for that one. So I got to go back. Yeah. And I want to go back, and then I'm gonna take her, and then that'll be like kind of like an exchange. Like, all right, I'll give you the monkey, but now you got to travel with me because she's of age. She's old enough. So yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Sweet, man. I guess we'll wrap it up. We'll just shout out DJ Freaky Fred though.
Man, shout out Fred. Man, Fred is not only how we met, but Fred, when I opened the first gym, Fred paid a guy to come do videos for me. I didn't pay nothing. Fred did like these 3 little 45-second video clips. And you know, the crazy thing is they never brought any business to me, but he still did like it did. And then when I opened this gym, the anniversary of Fred training in my gym is May 8th. Fred showed up. I didn't think he would. Nobody else. Everybody said, I'm gonna come. Fred showed up and Fred started working out, man. And he stopped drinking. And Fred worked out from May until the 4th of July. 4th of July, somebody tempted him with probably a shot of Fireball or something. And he was like, oh, I'm back. But Fred, I always give Fred credit, and I always give CJ credit because CJ, when I was at a position when I moved out here and I didn't know what I was like, how I was gonna do it. CJ opened the doors of GTX, which I believe he sold, but he opened the doors of GTX and let me come in there and train. And to this day, if somebody tells CJ I said something bad about him, I'll be like, whatever. I've never said nothing bad because like what he did for me is something that. I mean, he charged me $300. $300 to you, and he didn't just like confine me to that space upstairs. He was like, if I'm not using this, you can use the whole gym. Right, $300 a month. And so without that, I don't get to I don't get started on what I'm doing. So I always give Fred credit for always supporting, and I always give CJ credit for opening his doors to GTX. And
no doubt. CJ was always cool, man. Every time I was around,
it's not the same GTX that's there now, though. Like he sold it, so this was I thought he was going to end up having like one of the biggest gyms in Washington, but then he ended up moving to back home to Missouri.
Okay, I didn't know that. I haven't seen him in a minute, but all right, well, cool. There we go. That was chapter 3 with Joseph Northcutt.
Long as we keep it ambitious and get to the riches, I'm ready to go. I mix my humble beginnings with winnings and chemists as far as I know. Whoa, sugar and spice, I'm everything nice. I give you advice, they give you a price. If you paid attention, you'll see what I'm kicking. I'm wasting your money by saying it twice. Shit is a game, you wanna complain, you blaming your L's on the dice. Mama just whipped up the cobbler, so I had to call it a reserve a slice. Whole fam gotta eat, closed mouth don't get fed. So all I had to do is speak. Now I'm talking.